like to start off by introducing? I will. Okay, thank you very much, councillors, for your patience to attend tonight. My name is Martin Mortimer. I'm a chartered surveyor. I have been working on this particular project for a very long time, nearly 20 years, as I was saying earlier. And the purpose of this present... Sorry, is that better? Can you hear me now? Great, so I'll start again. My name is Martin Mortimer. I'm a chartered surveyor. I have been working on the Chapel Gover project for many years for the local landowners who've owned the land for over 50 years. And the purpose of this evening really is that obviously we feel that consultation is very important with key stakeholders. The Town Council is clearly a key stakeholder in this process. We have been through the pre-app process already on this particular proposal, and the application will be submitted next week. So when I arranged this with Duncan, I was hoping that it would actually be in by now, but you will see it very shortly. So I thought what might be, bearing in mind I have a clearly limited time I know you've got a very busy agenda this evening. What I wanted to do was just give you a little bit of the background on the history of the subject project, which I think is a very exciting scheme for Newquay, what the development comprises, and then the subject of our application is a new proposed junction arrangement, which would be, I think, you will form your own opinion, but we see it as a benefit for a variety of reasons. Sorry, that's not me making the knocking. Okay, I'm now booted. Okay, so I'll just give you a little bit of detail of what the scheme comprises. So the first little page on your presentation shows you where the land is. It's immediately to the south of Nansledden. It's obviously bisected by the new Newquay strategic route. We have planning permission for around 800 homes, which includes affordable homes, a relatively small amount of commercial and retail space, but 1,200 square metres, which won't really compete in any way with Nansledden. It's more aimed for the local homes that we're building. It's designed to complement and sit alongside the Nansledden proposals. It's slightly lower density, so it has a different feel, but I think will sit alongside it quite well. We have worked very collaboratively with the Cornwall Council team, planning, highways, and the affordable housing teams in where we've got to today. We've taken, the landowners and myself feel very strongly about the quality of the development, and that's a landscape-led approach. So we have sustainable water features, which will remain with water in them throughout the year, which is, I think, would be a nice thing for those that live there. We'll be using existing ponds as well that actually sit along the Chapel Stream frontage. So that will be quite a significant feature sitting alongside what Duchy and Cornwall Council have already created to the north. The other thing is that this is very much about pedestrian and cycle linkages to the adjoining areas, and a great deal of thought has been given as to how those would work and create connectivity around the surrounding area. So this would be a phased development. It's a large scheme, but I think the important thing is that in terms of its long-term management, we would adopt the same principle as the Duchy have, which is that after each individual phase is finished, those would be effectively reversed into a sort of an overall management company, so that the whole scheme has a decent long-term management strategy over the areas which are not adopted. So the second little picture in the set just gives you a little bit of an idea of what the scheme might look like, and this is the western parcel of land looking south. So you can see that it's quite strongly based around those ponds that I've mentioned, quite low density, and obviously fairly minimal vehicle movements. We need to find a balance between parking spaces, which we know has presented challenges elsewhere, but giving streets that don't get parked on the main thoroughfares. I think that's really important in terms of the overall scheme. The other thing that I think is quite nice about the project is that we have a village green and a village pond on the western side, which will provide a managed public open space with quite a bit of character. A very small retail commercial element overlooking the pond, and there is an existing east-west lane which goes currently across the site, and which would be retained and improved to provide pedestrian and cycle linkages from Tren Creek in the west through to the NSR and then on to Nansledden, which I think locals, when we've talked about them previously in consultation, have welcomed in terms of connectivity. Very important, the next little image, which is the entry approaches from the NSR. And when we go into some of the later images, you'll see the purpose of what we're trying to do here. There are two entrances which serve our scheme to the east and the west. I'm now looking at entry approaches from the NSR. Sorry, I should have been a bit clearer in going through this with you. So this gives you a little bit of an indication of the currently approved scheme. So this purely has a junction arrangement that comes off to east and west respectively. And there's on the western side, there's a sort of small village square which sits around a taller building. That was one of the planning requests to give a little bit of a sense of arrival when you came down to the bottom of the hill. And I know that some of you may have walked the NSR recently. So when you come down from the railway edge down towards our site, there is quite an incline, which I think is one of the key things which I wanted to talk about. So when we started out this process, the landowner had quite a strong preference for a roundabout junction approach rather than simply the junctions that we have currently. And at the time, the duchy approach, shall we say, which had different personnel and people involved in the day-to-day, their view at that time is that they did not want to see any roundabouts. So for that reason, despite very strong views, there was not a roundabout installed as part of those designs. That approach from the duchy has now changed, and they have now indeed built what they describe as a roundel, which some of you may have seen, which has recently been completed immediately to the north of our site, the other side of the causeway. And in essence, what we are proposing in our pre-app and the application which will come in is something which looks identical to that. It's the same designers, AWP, as the council and duchy have used. We think they're very good, actually. And so there is a commonality of approach in terms of the design of the roads, the materials, and the look and the feel. And I think that the important thing here is that, which I'll talk about more in a moment, that now that the road is built, I think when one walks there, it's very evident that if you just had that number of homes coming off a simple junction, I don't think it's very safe, being blunt. And those that have walked it have actually, I think, agreed with that principle. So what we want to do is to get this application in next week. It's been through the pre-app processes, and I think Cornwall Highways are very happy with what we're showing, that we haven't had any issues with that. And fundamentally, the timing of this would be, if approved, we realise that there'll be a sort of a growing pains whilst the road is everyone gets used to it. So the earliest that I can see would be doing anything towards creating the roundabout would be next year. So it gives it time to settle down a little bit. We've also engaged with the duchy to say, look, we understand all the things and all the new retail facilities and Tesco's that are going in. We would maintain a through route, and we've shown later in this little presentation how that would be achieved, because we understand that it's fundamental to ensure that that through route is maintained. So I think the other thing here is to say that the roundabout would fulfill a number of functions, because when you come down from the hill from the south, although I know it's going to be 20-mile-an-hour limit, I think people's habits are such that when they're coming down there fast and trying to turn in or out, it's quite logical to think that there would be some challenges, shall we say. So what this would do is act as a natural stopping point, if you will, when you're going through that route, and it would also give us the opportunity to put some decent pedestrian crossings, which would be a much safer solution, we think, to coming into the project. If we could then go to the next little image, which is showing the proposed phase 1. So everyone has said, well, that's great. What are you going to do now that the NSR is in? And we have to do these things in stages because this is obviously a large project. So the area of land which is to the west of the NSR, which is shown hatched there, is the first phase, which would be about 15 acres. And that includes also the areas which we would do in terms of the attenuation ponds. We've already received separately a year ago approval for the main access road, which is the one that would go from the NSR leading in to the scheme, and that has all the design principles that Landsletten has in terms of the width of the roads, the approach to the granite sets, the approach to the pavement areas, so that it will have symmetry with what has already been delivered and what will be delivered in the future. So our intent is to enter into a partnering arrangement with a suitable house builder on that first phase. The landowners will retain the control and ownership of the entire site. This is a long-term project for them. They're not just going to hand the keys over to someone. This is something that they feel very passionately about, as I do. And so this first phase will just enable us to get the project kicked off. It will include affordable housing. Depending upon the density, between 170 and 200 homes, including affordable homes. So our target timeline, as we've said, for this first phase to start on site would be sometime in 2026. We have an outline planning permission, but there will be reserved matters needed for the design of the actual homes, which would follow on. Are there any questions around that sort of first phase and what we're proposing at this point?
Can I just sort of actually mention from the really start of this, I mean, I take it that, I mean, I really welcome what you're doing on the Chapel Stream. So you're matching what Dutchy is doing on the other side. I absolutely love that. I take it that the original plans 14 years ago, whenever they were to bring the roads through the Chervenson Meadows site is no longer going to happen.
Correct, and you have a very good memory. When we first looked at this, because we were hoping that we could start the early phases much sooner, the original submission assumed a small first phase coming from the west through Chervenson Meadows. There was a concern about the construction activity, and therefore there is no either construction activity or indeed any vehicular route through from the west from Chervenson Meadows. All our access will be from the NSR. There are pedestrian and cycle linkages through from the west, but no vehicles.
And there never will be.
No, we don't have approval to do that, and certainly there's no desire to do that either.
Right, so ignorance alert, so forgive me here. Roundels, no, well, just a couple of questions. So are we talking similar to some of the central Bodmin junctions, if you know? Do you know Bodmin?
Yeah.
Is it similar to that?
There is a plan later in the presentation which shows you what it will be like.
Oh, we're coming on to it, are we?
Yes, we will go into the roundabout. But
sorry, I didn't realise. I thought we were in questions. I didn't realise.
So, okay.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
But I don't know much longer you will be on the presentation.
5 minutes.
Yeah, I'll hold on.
Do the 5 minutes.
Sorry.
So that I understand things you're saying, you said to the south of Landsletten. Is that between sort of Suez Recycling and Landsletten, or is it further?
So our access is, if this is your question, I may have misinterpreted. We have two accesses off the NSR, and I will show you in a later one of the images where those are at the present time. So the new recycling facility is well to the south, the other side of the railway line, and the existing one is to the west of Chervenson Road, nearer the school.
Didn't know there were two. Sorry, the one that people use.
Just
I'm just trying to figure out where we're talking about.
If you look at the first plan, the master plan one, which is it says the approved master plan.
Yes.
So Trevenson Meadows is to the west. You then have Nansledden to the north, and the southern boundary of our site is the railway line.
Looking at that, Tren Creek crossing is to the south.
Southwest,
Trevenson
yeah.
Meadows is that, well, whatever, the bottom. I never know what the does. And then the Trevenson Meadows is the modern estate along the Trevenson Road. Right.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah. So not to get blind by the light. So I don't want to blind by the light. So our site is in this area here. So I'm just trying to pick up that the railway line is for a minute.
So the line is this.
Okay, so that is the line of the railway, and our site is the land to the west of the NSR, which is in here,
Thank you.
and to the east of the NSR, which is in here.
Brilliant. Thank you very
Does
much.
that help?
Yes, it
Yes.
does, yes.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Should I then continue, perhaps? If there's any other, I'm happy to deal with any questions in a moment. So I'll show you in a moment what the roundel proposal, and it's called a roundel because the Duchy called it a roundel, and that's I call it a roundabout. The Duchy called it a roundel, however you wish to put it. And what this red line on the roundel proposals slide shows you is that the work that we'll be doing is really all that road. The NSR is clearly there. There's a sort of central roundabout arrangement, and we would be building slightly to either side of the NSR, leaving the NSR in place, but we'd be building slightly each side of that to enable a better access into the site. And what I'll show you in one of these later ones is where the existing eastern one is, because that's a fairly key point in terms of safety. So I think that this plan is fairly self-explanatory. The other thing to note, as I put at the bottom here, the cost of these works would be borne by the landowner, not by the council. I think that's quite important, obviously. So, and the design is exactly the same by the same designers as the one that has just been completed by the Duchy, immediately to the north. So you can go and see and touch what it will actually look like. It's quite an ornate design. The next slide, which I think is an important one, is the indicative construction and traffic management measures. And what I'd like to just show you on the right-hand side little slide is that you'll see that there's the main proposed roundabout area, and then that's all in grey. If you look just below that, there is an existing junction point that you can see that comes into the eastern area of land, and that is where currently the access into our eastern area would be. I think what everyone, including officers from Cornwall Council, realised is that it's one thing to look at this on a plan, but in reality, that because there's a significant embankment, that is quite high up off the ground level. I mean, we jokingly call it the ski run, but it really would not be a very safe route, we feel, if this was actually adopted. So the idea of having a roundabout, as we've proposed, would provide a much safer solution, because we would do away with the other eastern access and just have this one arrangement and approach. So if we look at the next one, which is the roundel impression, artist impression, what would it look like? The view on the left is obviously the one, if you're looking at it from above. So you can ignore the sort of the buildings that would sit around because they're just fairly illustrative. I mean, the main thing is how the roundabout would look. And I think that one of the things that's become evident here is, we were talking about this on site today, when you arrive coming from the south, from Hendra, you're obviously then you would come down to this roundabout, and you rise up slightly and go over the new Causeway Bridge, which is magnificent, obviously. And what the little image on the right shows you is that you'll be approaching from Hendra, coming from your left-hand side. Our plans show it's almost a mini little square on the top right-hand corner. You can see, which we think would be quite a nice feature. And then on the other corner, which is on the sort of right-hand side of your image, there is actually an existing balancing pond which has been created as part of the NSR work, so that's actually there. What this roundabout proposal would do is enable pedestrians to actually see from that location right across the green belt, the Chapel Stream corridor, across to Nansleden. And it is, if you go and walk it, which you can now do, it is quite a magnificent view, and I think it would be something which quite add to the sense of arrival when you're coming in to this area from the south. So we feel that this is a more attractive solution, as well as the obvious benefits from safety and, being blunt, slowing traffic down from both directions when they're coming down the hill and down from the causeway. So we're basically very keen to see this progressed, and as I said, the design is done, and so it will be in next week. So the purpose of today really is just to explain the wider proposal to you, so you get the context, because it's been going on for many years, but now we're actually proposing to go ahead and deliver it, and just give you the sense of why we are suggesting that we would like to put a roundabout or roundel in this particular location. So I'm then happy to answer any questions.
Yes, so looking at the artist's impression, the roundabout is actually, and there's a sort of fan shape. The roundabout is actually just that little central core, because there appears to be a car coming across. Is that how it's going to work?
You're talking about the right-hand one?
I'm looking at the right hand. There's a big
Yes.
car. So I'm assuming that the actual roundabout itself is that centre
Correct.
ring.
Correct.
So it's
Yes.
quite small.
Yes. Yes, you're quite right. So the central, the little circle in the centre, is where the vehicles would go around to continue their route.
And this won't interrupt the NSR at all, because that's supposed to be next month as well.
No, I kind of skipped over one of the plans, but we've had a construction management plan done by AWP, who've done the rest of the NSR, and essentially you do it in two stages. So you would have a continuous through route on one side. It might have to be monitored by traffic signals, but it would be a relatively short period of time. And then when that's finished, you flip over to that and do the other side. So we're not intending that clearly that this would be closed. You have to maintain a through route for obvious reasons.
Joe, and then
So yeah, just thinking about the roundel. I think the question I asked earlier was about whether the comparisons with the centre of Bodmin. Are you familiar with the centre
Yep.
of Bodmin? So there are, I call them posh roundabouts, and they don't seem to have any priority. And I think the idea is that people are supposed to be vigilant and take their own care. Is that the same system?
I'm not the traffic highway expert, but what I would say is, I understand your point. I think that what's important to note here is that it's slightly different to some of the places you're talking about. One, the materials that are used for this are quite high quality materials. It's not just tarmac. These are paving materials that are a different colour, and so when you arrive at them, you're aware of the fact that you're on a different surface, point one. Also, you're coming down the hill from the south, and slightly coming down the hill from the causeway the other direction. So this will have the effect of people reducing their speed right down, which I think is a key factor. And as you'll see on some of these plans, the intent is to have pedestrian crossings clearly marked on each side, so that in itself should create the incentive and things for people to go across.
Just really quickly. So, are you planning any speed enforcement, or is this supposed to be auto-suggestionism?
This is a public highway, so it would not be for us to enforce. But I believe that the speed limits on the NSR, I think, in that area are 20 miles an hour.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So we're at 20 anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I applaud your efforts for traffic calming. I think it's a good idea. I'm just wondering what the rules are. I think that's where I'm up to.
It was similar, but I think I'm just glad to hear about I hope those crossings are all 4 sides.
Yes.
Yeah, because I was just thinking as a pedestrian, cyclist, otherwise. And then you said the buildings are an artist's impression, but are they likely to be 2 to 3 stories like this impression, or?
When we went through the planning process, I will answer your question. Our buildings throughout the scheme are A, quite low density, and B, not tall. So I think that even the highest buildings other than these are ground and 2, but the majority of them are ground and 1. What the planning team wanted to see on this junction is slightly higher buildings, because it provided a sense of arrival, and it does mirror somewhat the approach that has been taken in Nansleddon. So at present, our planning approval shows higher density buildings on the 2 western boundaries. So when you're coming in, turning left, which is the bigger part of the side, I think there is an ability to put slightly larger buildings on the eastern parcel, but what we're doing here takes away one of those quadrants. As you can see, it becomes a landscaped area looking towards Nansleddon. So it very much will depend upon the use, because there's no point in us saying we're going to have create buildings. Those would have to be something like apartments, retirement apartments. I mean, they can be affordable, but we need to get that right, because it's the entrance to the scheme. So it's very important that we get the right massing when we come in, and they are set back. And you notice on the one on the northwest corner, that has got a nice square, so that would be set back from the road with a small amount of commercial at the ground floor.
Encourage that density where possible. We need it, rather than sprawling across the green spaces and losing what the purpose of the joy
Yes,
of living.
and we've taken lessons from it's the same approach as the Dutch have taken. If you make those areas feel more pedestrian and lower speed, they're going to be much more user friendly, and we won't have loads of cars parked in that area either. I think that's quite important.
The roundabout that I'm thinking of is the one that's with Crinchville Road and William Hoskin Way, where they've got shops down below and flats above. Is that what you're suggesting here?
No. Well, okay. I think there are 2 guidelines. I think you've probably seen the new the roundabout that's just been created, the other side of the causeway. It's just opened a short time ago, which it's Dutchy built. It's the same exact design as that in terms of the materials, but in terms of how there's only one quadrant around the roundabout that would have any commercial element in it, as per the planning commission. So the idea would be to have a ground floor, commercial or retail uses, which would be purely really to serve our development, because obviously there's quite a lot of retail going into Nansleddon already, and so that would be commercial at ground floor, the marketplace with the sort of with pedestrians and trees, and then it would be residential uses above in that location. The other 2 quadrants that we're showing being built here would not have commercial beneath them.
Hi, thank you. And we could have spent probably an hour on this, so I'll try and be brief. But thank you very much. And I think your plans on the face of what we've seen tonight look great. And whilst it's always a shame to see beautiful fields being kind of developed into homes, as Katie said, Cornwall is in need of new homes, and whilst Newquay's probably had its fair share, this does look like a very well considered development. My 4 points are: first of all, timings for the for the staggering of the building of the Roundel, and also if you can try and avoid peak seasons, that would be very helpful for everybody involved. Secondly, great to see affordable homes noted, but just wondering what percentage, and if you're going to do better than the minimum, would be very welcome as well. Third is love seeing all the green efforts being kind of designed in from the beginning. However, have you thought of other things like solar panels on roofs, ground source heat pumps, and other things like that, please, especially for future proofing bills? And finally, whilst I don't think it's necessarily your requirement, but one of the main things that Newquay residents are very frustrated about are things like new houses being built, but no more services being built, doctor surgeries. Yeah. But I'm just putting that out there because more houses. Yeah, and I've said that. Yeah.
Can you answer any
I will be very brief, noting that. So, air source heat pumps. I'm not building anything that doesn't have air source heat pumps. We have no gas coming in the scheme, so that's an
Excellent.
obvious one. Solar panels, yeah, but it has to be make sure that it looks appropriate.
Yeah.
Understanding your point. Can you just tell me the other ones?
Affordable housing.
Affordable housing, we're at, I think, from memory, an average of about 22.5%, but that the reason behind that slightly lower percentage is because we have contributions that come out of the scheme which are higher than normal to help fund the NSR. So therefore, there was a proportionate thing. But I'm doing a lot of affordable housing. I understand the need for it, and we will make sure that we try and optimise that aspect.
Timing for the road.
Any surgeries in there?
Yeah. And timing for the road.
As I said earlier, we would not be doing any works until 2026. So the road would open and everything else like that. And what we would aim to do is to try and do the works to the roundabout and our first main spine road in phase 1 to the west at the same time, because it makes sense to have all that sort of
And
highways.
not in June, July, August.
Sorry?
Not in June, July, August.
No, the landowners are in the leisure industry. I think they understand
Okay.
that particular dynamic
Good.
very well, yes.
Thank you.
I'm afraid, I think we could ask you questions on this, but I think a lot of them, so thank you very much for coming, that was really, really interesting. And we will look forward to seeing the planning application in due course.
Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Having no other people downstairs.
Yes, okay, so we're probably looking to start about, you switch us off and we're probably
It'll still be quorum.
It'll still be cool.
Yeah.
We'll have to bring mine up in that case.
Right.
before we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so our meeting has begun, yes?
Right.
Right.
Thank you very much for coming to the planning and licensing meeting for the 19th of March. Have we got any apologies?
No, we don't have any apologies. We are almost a full house, to be
Yes,
honest.
standard apology from Councillor Bell.
I'll record Councillor Bell's, yes, certainly.
So, got any interest in dispensation? Yes, I have an application. I don't know which number it is, but I will leave the room when that comes up. Anybody else got any interest they know about? Right. Meeting manager, did you?
We have the councillor application.
Why?
We've got no pecuniary interest. But it's non-pecuniary interest.
Can we just clarify that? Councillor Creek, the mayor, and a Green Party activist has got an application in. Does that affect our Green members?
It absolutely doesn't. I've spoken to the town clerk about that, and there is no reason why you should not involve yourself unless you choose not to. There is no reason why you should not involve yourself in the deliberations and the vote on that application.
If you choose not to, can you just sit quiet and abstain rather than leave the room? Because otherwise we won't be quorate.
Okay?
Yeah. If it's okay.
Obviously, this is a strange time because we are in the pre-application period. I would remind you all that that's that we do need to be careful politically, but there is no reason. The town clerk confirmed that there's no reason that you can't all involve yourself with that application.
Thank you, Duncan. Right, meeting manager issues. We've obviously got a lot of people for different applications. What we normally do is sort of open public questions for a particular application, let people talk, close public questions, and then we have our debate, and then we do it for the next people, and then the next people, and then the next people. It seems fairer that way. And what I will do is start with the gentleman on the right, Acorn Blue, because you arrived first. But I've got no idea how we're going to do the order for the rest of everybody else. So effectively, we do have an application for a pop-up, don't we, as well?
Yes.
A pop-up?
It's not pop-up. Yes.
No, we have a street trading application,
Street trading, yes.
and we do have the applicant with us this evening.
Is that the one I should do first, in effect?
No, not at all. Not at
Okay,
all.
right.
You do them, and it might be best to do the application that's got the most people in the room, to be honest, which is the Acorn Blue one, the
Right.
former Jewson site.
Right,
That's
okay.
what I would suggest.
We're going to start with that. Okay, next item on the agenda is minutes. I take it everybody has read 19th of February and 4th of March. I'm proposing show of hands to accept them. Thank you very much. Matters arising, well, anybody got any matters arising from them? Great. Public question time, in which case I'm now going to open public question time. I'm going to ask the Acorn Blue representatives to come to the mic there. You've done it before, so you can show everybody else how to do it. Sorry?
Should we go after some of the residents, just because I might be able to answer some of the questions?
Perhaps the residents would like to go first.
Right, I was going to put you first because you were first. Who do we think should be the first resident in that case to I,
Be mindful of the time.
yes, indeed. So what about the two in the front, the two in the front row? Are you together? She says hopefully.
Are you able to monitor 3 minutes?
3 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, we will have to keep you to, we will have to keep, if you can just start by telling us which application it is you're interested in.
No, it was the residents to do with the development of the...
Oh, I see, I'm getting confused. Right, okay.
Residents regarding the Acorn Blue.
Yeah.
Right, I beg your pardon. Right, in that case, by all means, if you could just explain what you want to say.
So my name's Oliver Neal. I live at 8 Mountwise Cottages, which is the last house on the row leading up to the Jewson site. Very briefly, my concerns with the development are the access. The main access for that street is up the Mountwise Cottages. It's a tight road with resident parking, well, unallocated residence parking to the right-hand side, double yellows to the left. The vehicle tracking on the highways application shows no vehicles parked on that road, and the tracking data would interfere with the parking. So my concern is that this could impact the current parking situation for the residents on the right-hand side of 8 Mountwise Cottages. My second concern is, as a private unadopted road, the current frontage residents are responsible for the upkeep. We patch it as necessary when needed. And I would just want to ensure that the new development also maintains some responsibility for the road upkeep if it remains unadopted, especially if there's going to be increased traffic on the road. But yeah, that's my only comments.
I would certainly say that you take a good picture of it before they start, and then take a picture of it when it's finished. Have you had an opportunity to actually talk with the developers? I
have discussed with the developers. I basically said the same comments as I've said today. Yep. They were addressed, but I just wanted to have those concerns.
Just so that we were aware of them as well?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so anybody else? Would you like to come forward and
Can I just ask them?
Yeah.
What was their response? Well, he spoke to you and he's on the mic, he didn't want to go first, so go on.
They said that they didn't anticipate the development impacting the current parking setup. They didn't want to cause any issues on the road as it is, and that they'd know more once they'd spoken with the case officer.
Fine.
Hello, so my name's Lynn Truella. I live at 53 Mount Wise with my elderly parents. We also own the garages that are to the north of the development, so past the cottage, no, if you spin it the other way around, down that tiny lane by the white wall is a block of garages. So main concerns, I've also spoken to the guys at Acorn Blue, they've been very lovely. But again, wanted to raise these concerns officially because having looked through the planning documentation, I don't find them addressed really at all. So I have the same concerns as Ollie in terms of the parking. Looking at comments from the police, they have raised that parking should be clearly allocated to avoid neighbourhood disputes. Bearing in mind there is no visitor parking allocation in quite a large development and no extra kind of street parking allocation due to current policy, that could cause very big neighbourhood disputes on our little street if also parking isn't numbered for the residents that are already here. In terms of our access to our garages, the lane is very, very narrow, so having a clear entryway to kind of get a turning circle or reverse in or drive in is really important. It's only just narrow, like wide enough now for our vehicles. So we spoke to Acorn Blue about how it would be handled during development, because there will obviously be times when we cannot access due to demolition and things like that. We just want to make sure that the boundary is well maintained, that we don't lose any width on the lane, and that it's addressed, because right now in all of the documentation it is a footpath. There is no acknowledgement that it is a vehicle access both to property and garages. So we want that to be clearly addressed in written commitments to what's going to happen. I would also just raise a concern about sewerage, bearing in mind that a lot of the sewerage here is still Victorian clay pipe, has collapsed in recent years and had to have fixes. And as yet, I haven't been able to navigate on the planning how that will be dealt with. Because obviously putting a large amount of sewage down those pipes could be a big problem for people further down the line. So yeah, that was my main concerns.
I probably should have asked Ollie, but I'll ask you.
Yep.
You obviously got double yellow lines down one side of the street. Mm-hmm. Do you have a problem in the summer with people swiping your parking?
Fairly rarely, around Boardmasters and...
Yeah, pretty much only over the Boardmasters weekend. It's not a through road. A lot of people, if they go up there, they get stuck and they don't go up there again.
Yeah, we have problems with our access with people parking in the Jewson's Gateway. Mainly that's neighbours, so we know who it is and we can approach them and say, hey, do you mind moving your car? If it's not neighbours, it does become a bigger issue. But with 28 more homes, you know, there's quite a large number of 3-bedroom and 4-bedroom homes. We all know that in Cornwall, big families often have more than 2 vehicles, so there could be overflow which could cause big neighbourhood problems or parking problems. That's part of my concern. So.
I spoke with them, and one of my problems was I thought it might attract people to come up that road and park. So we'll have to see anyway.
Yeah, that was my thought as well.
But you have had every opportunity to talk with them, which is fine. Thank you very much. So is there anybody else who wants to make any comments on this one before I ask April Blue to come forward? Whichever one of you wants to do it.
So I shall quickly try and address some of those. So I think when we first came for the pre-app, we talked about the case officer really trying to push this to reduce the amount of parking on site. So yeah, and I think we're all the same opinion. We have reduced the numbers in our full application. We're meeting her on Friday, and I think some of the comments on the planning portal have actually might make her reconsider, but so far we have reduced them, but we do think it's a little bit bonkers. We're happily reintroduce them, I think, as part of the application.
I don't think there's any rule at the moment that allows her to do that. I think they might want to do it, but I don't think they've changed the...
I think, we're meeting her on Friday on site, so I think, when she sees it, she hasn't been to site yet, sees the road, sees the comments, potentially that will change, the reality of it.
Because you're happy to
we had them in our original plans, we'll put them back in, because it would make everyone's life easier, I totally agree. And we will be allocating our spaces and numbering them to our residents.
He's raring to go.
Just to say that the neighbourhood plan, our neighbourhood plan states that this should be, so you wouldn't want the officer overriding that.
It's to think that it's all been overridden and the rules have changed. And I don't think they have yet.
So the rules haven't changed, but the local plan requires the council to consider things on a sustainability basis, and the view of sustainability is people shouldn't have cars, simply, which is obviously wrong. So we will do our utmost, because we live in nuclear offices just on the road, so to make the point that the visitor parking is absolutely key and that retaining the space is key, and we're exactly the same page. We only took them out because that...
So if we objected of the fact that you haven't got the parking places that we require in the neighbourhood plan, would that be helpful?
That's a tricky question. Do we want to objection at town council?
I can tell you we will, because we do hold to that particular policy.
Could I request to come back on that point after we've met the case officer and see how that goes?
We have to make the decision tonight, so it's... I think we
to be honest,
will.
no, it wouldn't, because it would still be an objection to town council.
We took 5 years walking this patch, Councillor Kenny and myself, to do the neighbourhood plan, and we don't want people just deciding at Cornwall Council, the local plan overrides it and they can decide. We spent I don't know how many hours, and it is a really important piece of work. And I understand people's concerns about parking.
I don't think it's going to change the case officer's mind and objection. No, if anything, it will give her ammunition, and then the site's vacant for another 18 years.
What I would suggest...
You have to come back in and say, well, we'll put 58 parking spaces in.
If this was the only issue related to the site, my suggestion would be tonight to support...
You can suggest to how we vote.
Yeah.
We're prejudging the debate and the advice from our planning officers. So, but I take the point. Is there anything else you wanted to raise on this?
I was just sort of going to repeat what
about
the
road
said.
itself.
We want to sell these units, so we don't want it to look like it currently does. So we will be resurfacing it, and I completely agree. If everyone who has the benefit of the road should contribute towards it, it's a private road. That makes logical sense. So I agree with that. And
so your plan is to resurface the road without charging any of the residents for that?
Yes, but then from then on, obviously,
yes, I understand that.
And
you are aware of the problems with the narrow
We know
lane.
there's going to be difficulties during the construction. The sewage, everything needs to be detailed. It's a planning application. After this, we get into the real detail and the timings and obviously we're just next door, so we'll keep the channels open is our plan.
The future maintenance of that road, because of access, would be part of the Manco. So there will be contributions from other users, not just yourselves, so it will make it cheaper.
And the clay pipes, the storage?
Yeah, so so the next stage when we get into pre-app, I think we've got camera surface and things like that, but the detailed design, it might be a case that it needs to be replaced. I don't know the answer, I'm totally honest.
So we'd have a condition, so a set condition that required us to do full detailed surveys and make good or better improve those if the pipes and all need replacing. So And that's fairly standard application. You can't make it
It's
worse.
more to have a habit of saying, oh yeah, it'll be fine, and then discovering it isn't. Right, was there anything else you wanted to say? Because if there isn't, I will close the, I'm just looking at it. Oh, sorry. I'm just looking, have your points all been covered?
The only thing I just add is, when we last came, the plan, I don't know if you've looked at it, it hasn't changed in minor ways. We've added a bit more green, have taken the parking out, admit, and we've added the path into the, otherwise it's more or less identical to what we showed at pre-app.
Right.
That's okay.
Right, what I'm going to do now is close the meeting and then bring that application up so we can discuss it. At this point, you can't actually, nobody can actually join in. Occasionally we get something from you, but effectively the rules are that you can at this stage not join in. So I'm proposing that we bring this application up to the fore. No, we're doing it in terms. So I'm going to propose that we bring this particular application to discuss now. Is everybody happy with that? Yeah. Thank you. Duncan.
Bear with. Right. Yeah, let's just... I'm just going to start off with the we've seen this street view. I just wanted to give you the overhead view of the site here. So this here, where it says Mount Wise Cottages, this is the little bit of road that we've just been looking at now. Okay. In terms of comments, you'll see you've got a hefty comments pack in front of you. Our two public objectors are in the room with us, or our two public comments are in the room with us. I'm led to believe that there may have been a third since I put this pack together. I do apologise, I've not been able to keep it up to date, so I would have liked. Last time I looked, 13 consultees had responded. A key one is the Open Spaces team. And they have a concern about the proximity of the site to this amenity sports field area. Funnily enough, it was, yes. They had concern about the housing being too close to this and also the access. But that's really a matter for Cornwall Council Open Spaces and Planning, I think, to sort out. I think that the police may have had a view on the proposed access as well. But we have a number of consultees who've raised no objection, including the Public Rights of Way team, the Ramblers, and Public Protection's Air Quality consultations team. Right, so I'm going to start off with the design and access statement. Sorry, I just need to minimise that for a minute. So we have a couple of really nice, I've seen drone footage images of the site. This one looking in the northern direction, out across the bay, and then one looking backwards in the southerly direction. You can see the fields that we mentioned that the Open Spaces team had a concern about. Effectively, where I'm sort of running my cursor along there at the moment is the southern boundary of the site. Very briefly on the history, the site became home to both the reservoir of the Newquay Water Company and the generating station of the Newquay Electric Light Power Company in the early 20th century, demonstrating the town's modernisation and expansion as a tourist destination and the establishment of modern utilities. The current proposal seeks full planning permission to demolish the existing vacant buildings and replace them with residential dwellings. It is proposed that the site will accommodate 28 dwellings with a housing mix and accessible dwelling design. We'll now have a look at...
Can I just interrupt? Does that mean that the original plans to get the building moved have now no longer exist?
Yeah, to be honest, that would have been a really good question to have established.
I will ask.
Yeah.
Has the situation changed for the building?
So it is never part of the application. It's the intention of the owner to move it there. It's not. It doesn't form part of the application.
But your application is to demolish.
Yes, because we can't force the moving. As I say, correct.
So you're hoping that he'll take it away, but you've got no guarantee.
We can't take it away. We certainly.
Okay. So yeah, I think that there is some work on the heritage side that's going to have to, some conversations that are going to have to take place. I'm going to this just gives you the layout of the 28 dwellings. With some useful CGI images as well. So this gives you quite a good flavour of what the development is going to look like. You can see with a mix of 2 and 3 story accommodations. I might as well talk about the housing mix now, to be honest. All of the properties would be 2-story, apart from 6 units like this, dwelling units like this. We have a housing mix that we have 8 2-bedroom, 4-person houses. We have 14 3-bedroom, 4-person houses, and then we have we'll have 6 of these 4-bedroom, 7-person accommodations, and they run along the south end of the site here. Okay, so these are the 3-story accommodations on the south, and then the rest are 2 stories. As I say, a variety of 2 and 3-bedroom accommodations. We've a couple of street elevations as well. So it's a challenge trying to sort of communicate these applications. There's 80 documents on the register. We are not looking at 80 documents this evening, as I'm sure you'll appreciate. Yeah, so we've some useful street elevations. We do have details of the different plots, but as you'll appreciate, there are 28 of them, and we could spend a long time looking at individual properties. I don't think that's a great idea. In terms of the housing mix, the local plan policy 6 states that new housing developments of 10 or more dwellings should include an appropriate mix of housing size and type to address identified needs. And I believe that is an exercise that was undertaken by Acorn Blue. 2 parking spaces per plot were allocated. When initially there were visitor parking spaces included, they have since, at the early stage, they have since been omitted, as we've heard, so it's just 2 parking spaces per dwelling.
Supplying 2 parking places, which actually
they are
meets our
looking to supply
requirements,
2 parking spaces. 5%, sorry, not 5%, I think 25% of the units are confirmed to be M4 compliant as well in terms of the accessibility. There was talk about some sort of mixed use on this site because it has sort of previously been a economic site, broadly speaking, an economic rather than residential site. There is a letter from the sales manager who has argued various reasons why live-work units wouldn't be appropriate for this site. I think really that's as much that I'm hoping that you've enough information to start the discussion now. Okay.
Has anybody got anything, any views they want to give? Sarah?
Yeah, the police have shown concerns about the lack of passive overlooking of sites, particularly the alleyway going through the houses to the playing fields and things, because it is creating a cut through, which particularly I imagine young people are going to be used. They're going to be zipping up and down there on bikes, and there's going to be, I think, probably issues of antisocial behaviour. So, and in terms of personal safety as well. So I have concerns about that, and the demolition of the pumping station. It's a shame it couldn't have been converted rather than knocking it down, because the historic environment planning there, they've got real big concerns about that as well. Being it's one of our oldest premises in the town. Yeah, I mean, that would be amazing, having those windows upstairs, you know, with the view they would have would be absolutely stunning. You know, I could see that easily being two really nice houses converted, which would be great. And I presume there's drainage on site for surface water somewhere. I can't see it on the. There's probably a one of those 80-odd documents which covers that. I didn't know if it was going down the old mine shaft. No, there's no indication from up there. So I'm not sure where the mine shaft is in relation to that at the.
That's the local flood authority. The flood authority is talking about that.
Yeah.
Right, I'll come in. I'm looking at what I mean, I like the idea that it's related. I don't actually think it's a practical proposition to turn that into a modern building, but I do want to see it preserved in some way. So I am happy that the application is asking for demolishment, and I appreciate that it's something you might be able to negotiate outside, but I really wouldn't support saying we support demolishment at this stage. The other thing I think is interesting is, though I actually love the idea it was close to Mayfield, the public, is it the no, it's not the public, one of these are talking about it being too close to the little gym. So I think there needs to be, I don't think it, I mean, I think I'll probably start by saying I support the idea of developing this site for housing. I don't think there's a problem with that. I think there needs to be a lot of negotiation.
Public open space.
I think with public open space, what they're talking, it doesn't sound what they want is impossible. Yeah. When you look at what the police say as well, forgive me, they're talking about they don't like the idea of an alleyway, want it open. So it looks to me like there is some negotiations to go on to rejig it so that it becomes more integrated with the Mayfield Park and not too close to the place where they think all the kids are going to be playing. The area is actually it's known for antisocial behaviour. So I think I think this development, if done properly, can really help that. But I think from what they are saying here, the experts are saying they aren't happy with what it is at the moment. Right, anybody else have got anything to say?
No, I just want to second that. I've had residents talk about antisocial behaviour just across the road. Supported in principle the development generally. Looking at that building, it's gutting to see that potentially disappear, and I'm amazed that it couldn't be the central feature for a development with houses around it, because it's stunning. So I'll support that at least we make a comment around that, and we have to leave that unfortunately with the officers and the heritage officers. The police have made a pretty strong statement here about that alleyway. I haven't in 3 years of planning committee seen a statement that strong. So would encourage you to really have, perhaps, as Councillor Kenny is saying, some quite detailed conversations with them to try to figure that out. My read of it was they were saying two different things. One is that there's a play area just nearby, and there should be a 30-metre distance so that once your residents move in, they don't start complaining about the noise. So that's a separate question to the second point they raised, which is that, as Councillor Kenny is saying, they're saying the alleyway could end up sort of maybe with fences on both sides and thereby be an unsafe space. So, you know, you try and balance that as I look at the picture with the residents on the sides, and I don't know how you do that, but, you know, that I think is absolutely crucial because we have already, as is being said, had numerous reports of antisocial behaviour in the area, and we need to sort of build ways that facilitate more positive interactions. And then just one final point. Generally, great to see the housing going in again. I think a number of us are saying that, and quite a bit of good thought put in. It sounds also like, you know, you're wanting to meet the officer and seek that further parking to respond to these residents' concerns. So that's fantastic. And I think we should also make a note on that point that we encourage the further parking as well because of the points being raised. Just in terms of your paved area, there is a honeycomb approach that's done with grass growing through concrete honeycomb or plastic honeycomb. I mean, my guesstimate on the officer saying less parking is to try to keep more greenery. And you could maybe be balancing a little bit if you are doing honeycombing, which is a mild greenery and biodiversity habitat, even if cars are driving over it, little tiny creatures kind of there, versus the paving that's being considered right now. And finally, I see solar panels and things going in, so great to see that eco-design. That's something we, you know, is working in homes in Newquay, and so good to see more of it for energy security. Yeah, thank you.
You guys want to say anything? Francis?
Just, I support everything Katie's just said, funnily enough.
Does anybody care to make a proposal?
Sorry, when we had the, I don't know if it was the pre-up, but when they came and spoke sometime, it seems a long, long time ago, I felt they said they were going to move the building slightly to make that alleyway wider. You can nod if there was some. Can't remember if it was both of you that were here, but I clearly remember that alleyway being a real problem with the 1.8 metre fence. Yeah.
Right. Is anybody wanting to make a recommendation, proposal, or do you want me to just try it? I think I don't think, as it stands at the moment, we can support this. I think there is, with the public spaces people objecting, and we do have concerns about losing the building. The question is, do we say no objection subject to a suitable recommendation for the, because I absolutely support the development. It's just things that are wrong with it. So I don't know, we could object, whatever. Duncan.
Several of you have said that you support it in principle. You would like that returned as part of whatever comment. I presume that we would like that, whatever stance you take, you would like that included. Yeah. Okay.
So I was going to start by suggesting no objection, subject to a resolution of the issues raised by the Public Spaces Officer and the Police Architectural Liaison Officer, and subject to some reassurance of the future. Because I find it very difficult to say I would actually support demolition. I don't support. I mean, I am objecting to just saying we're going to demolish it. I just object to that. So either that could be an objection rather than no objection.
Before we get into seconding, I would like to propose object. And the reason is, the deal breaker for me is that we don't have assurance that the building will survive the build. I mean, I get the intention, I really do, but I think we've got to have a bit of guarantee. And that's the reason why, it will be interesting to see which of our proposals is eventually seconded so that we can move it forward. But I'm offering that as an alternative suggestion.
I'm actually very happy to withdraw my objection to and not on that basis. I think I should explain, and I'm sure you're aware of this, that We're not even consultees. I'm not sure what our role is. And effectively what happens is our objection, they will come back with, look, would you like to think again because of X, Y, and Z? So our objection is not a showstopper, but I do have a problem with this, supporting in any way demolishing the building.
Let me just reiterate that. Let's qualify the reasons why we're objecting. The reason we're objecting is because we are seeing this as an iterative process, and we are seeking further assurances about the future of the building. I do also, in principle, like the idea of the build, and in general, I think it's a good idea. But I think the presentation, as is presented today, we can see this. If we do take an objection forward, then it's more about, let's see this as one step in a series of steps, and we would look forward to seeing this application in a different format going forward.
Is there a second vote?
I was just going to add on about the car parking.
I don't think we can, because our requirement is for two. It would be nice to have, because what we've lost is the visitors' car parking, but they are actually providing 2 parking places per unit, and that's all we can ask for.
Plan, we have clauses around expectations to enhance the local community and neighbourhood, and to me that your issue is essentially that the local housing needs to not be negatively impacted by this development, and therefore visitor parking is required.
No, I'm sorry, we can't get away with that. It'd be nice to try, but our policy is very clear. We want 2 parking places, which actually includes, it doesn't have to be on site, it could be street parking. So we can't then turn around and say, well, we would like visitors parking, but that's not what the policy says, so we can't really apply that. So does anybody else want to say anything? Francis, were you going to, on that basis, were you going to second Joe's proposal?
I'll second Joe's proposal. I think, the gardens are really quite big if you look at them in proportion of the thing, and I think it's a case of the spatiality of the houses and the parking, and I think things can be shifted slightly, almost like just shifted, and make some of those gardens a bit smaller. I mean, some of the corner sites, they've got huge gardens. Yeah, and does...
With the view, make the garden smaller with a view to what?
Well, I think sort of like pushing the southern row of houses, that 30 metres away from the...
I think you're trying to redesign...
Yes, I think it can be done quite easily. And does the alleyway need to... Is there a prerequisition to have an alleyway there at all?
I think if all we say is we need to have this all resolved as part of the objection. I don't think we can here redesign it, but I tend to agree with it. I think it's not. I think it's not a showstopper. I think it will happen. And of course, the other thing we do need to mention is to sort of record the commitment to restore the road at the end of any building works, and to have an ongoing agreement, and to keep the access to the garages that exist at the moment. I think we need to mention that. So, are you seconding? So, show of hands for an unwilling objection on that basis, because we do support the development. So, show of hands for objection. Right. You're going to abstain. Right. So that's where we are. As we said, it's an iterative process. We expect it to come back and with the issues resolved. And we'll be very happy to support at that stage of the proceedings, I would imagine. Because I think the development is welcome. Yeah. Just got a few problems. Thank you very much for coming, and thank you for coming in as well. And we've got Mr. and Mrs. Bell here to talk about it. Belman, sorry, if you'd like to come forward and you've seen what happens.
Sorry, do I just press this button? Yes. Shall I speak now? Oh, yeah. Okay. Hello, it's Mr. and Mrs. Bellman. I just want to say I think it's pretty self-explanatory. We did a pre-application to our planning officer. She made comments to which we downscaled the size of the plans, and then she basically approved it and said it's ready then for the planning application to be put in. We spoke to our direct neighbours, and on sort of the plan application, where two of them actually physically went online and supported it, and our sort of direct neighbours, the side and the back, they're all supportive of it. So I just wanted to make a point of that, and I think that was it, wasn't it?
One of your neighbours supports, one of them's you, and the second one...
Yeah, it was the previous, the application that we put in, there was two different people, the previous ones. I think
so
the pre-application.
Mrs. Morecambe is concerned about the lack of consultation. Have you had a chance to speak to her?
She's like, I think I replied that, she's like 2 houses down, about sort of 50 metres away. So she's not that close, but it is a neighbour we do know, and we saw only so many, probably a couple of days before she put that comment. We were quite surprised because she hadn't approached us. She's never approached us about the plans.
we had originally had planning done on the house passed, but when we looked back at it, we thought it was overpowering. So we went back to the architect again, so I'd have something a bit more in keeping, which they've managed to do. Which was put in, I think,
October.
I think it was put in October, and then it was put in, and we was away for a couple of weeks when we would have come to the planning meeting, which was probably, I don't know, was it 6 weeks ago or 8 weeks ago or something?
You missed it, yeah.
So we haven't seen really over the winter months. We haven't seen her since it's been put in again, if it makes sense. It's because we went back to the planning officer, and she said, well, for advice
yeah, it was declined or something. So we paid for pre-application. So initially it was in October 24. I think a couple of neighbours then commented they supported it. The planning officer overall result was maybe it was declined, it needs to be downscaled. So we went to the planning officer and paid for pre-application advice. And based on that, she said, this is what you need to do. So we downscaled the sizes, and also the height was gone smaller as well. And with that, the planning officer then approved it, and then we put it back in for this planning application now. On our neighbour, I was to say, it's been on there since October. She hasn't commented, and it was a comment literally, I think, last week, the 11th of March. We've seen her quite a few times since October. She's never approached us, and we've always said hello. And sorry, yeah. So yeah. So we were quite shocked by the comment.
Right. Okay. Has anybody got any questions they want to ask?
Can I just ask, have we seen this before?
Yes.
Oh, I was going to say, I can see it, you know.
The planning officer has come to our site a couple of times as well.
Did we object? I think we did object, yeah.
Anybody else got any questions they want to ask Mr. and Mrs. Bellman? Right, thank you very much for coming in. The same comment as I did before is that, strictly speaking, you shouldn't take any part in the debate. If we're desperate, we sort of ask the sky just to translate it for us. So what I'm going to do is propose the application for now, so I can share that. Everybody happy with that? Thank you. Duncan.
I'm presenting this one.
Oh, you're presenting this one?
Yeah, I got 6 tonight.
You thought it was going to be simple.
Right, application for PA 25/01251, 22 Chester Road. It says about raising the eaves and ridge height, but it's quite a bit more than that. Just to note from the beginning, there's no surface water strategy, so that will need to be taken into account with whatever we decide. Okay, so site plan. So Chester Road shops and things are to the right, and we're going down Chester Road to Hillgrove Road, and this is on the left-hand side of the road, as you can see, 4 houses down. If we can have a quick look at the existing plan. That's the existing plan. Oh, hang on, let's get this on, get Bertha going. Right, so this is the house as it is at the moment, which is asymmetric, short roof, larger pitched roof, and this then is the garage to the side on a flat roof. And if we have a look at the existing elevations, thank you, Duncan, and you can see it's just, you know, asymmetric, garage at the side of the house, going along the side of the house, and, you know, windows going into the garden here, and skylights and things. Right, okay. Street view, we started off with the street view. There we go, the street view. So small dormer here, and the window, the garage, and, you know, the slope of the houses. So we've got tiered effect of the buildings going down Chester Road.
Can we just swing to the left? Is that a larger building to its...
Not really. No, it's about the same size, just it's like, I mean, they're all individual shapes and designs. We've seen this, that one there is fairly recent, and it's just been done up. Right, so I think if we start off with the proposed elevation, because then this gives you the basically the loss of the house. So the red line, can you just enlarge it a little bit, please? The red line then is the outline of the house. So effectively, it is a total change. The garage access is going. The house is going to be built up to the boundary. It's got garage then is going to be double garage inside the ground floor, and this is a complete, effectively huge increase to the body of the house, and will be far the largest house then in the road. That is the outline going up with a small dormer on here. So it's not, when it says raising the reeves and ridge height, it's a bit of an understatement really, because it's really a whole new build, just about.
Does it come forward?
Doesn't come forward, no. Well, this side does, because it's infilling where the run up to the garage is at the back. So it is a huge bulk up, and this side of the new roof, of course, is notably bigger, but we never have the scale to actually say how much bigger it is, but it is bigger. This is the roof height at the moment. This stays the same here, but maybe slightly bigger, but this is much bigger. So it is a real change in mass in terms of houses on the road. So if we look at the proposed site plan, so there we've got, this is building over basically the access to the garage. This then becomes the rest of the garage gets converted into an outdoor, into a flat roof, like office space, I think, and toilet shower in the back here. But you can see there's this whole row of skylights then in the roof. Nothing is overlooking it. But, you know, this is to the east of its neighbour. In terms of shadowing over that, I don't know, it's for people to decide. There we've got like a street view in terms of comparison with its neighbours. Of course, the architects have flattened the road. It's not a flat road, it's on a hill. Yeah, again, it's up to you to decide then sort of like the bulk of this, because, you know, it looks like there's 2 houses here now with this design. If we have a quick look at the existing floor plans. The existing floor plans, so there's your garage with the room at the back. and I can't read what the rooms are, but that's floor plans, and then we've got the bedrooms upstairs. Then if we look at the proposed floor plans, it gives you then that this is like totally much bigger dwelling when with the two cars. Even though it's quite interesting with the double garage doors, the way that they've put the cars in there, I think that car will be definitely hitting the side. Well, they probably both will. I'm not sure that they'll necessarily work. So they've got dining space, kitchen. I think utility, is it utility room at the end there, Duncan? I can't see where, yeah. On the flat roof with the skylight in, and then increasing the bedrooms and bathrooms upstairs.
That's actually a gym.
Gym, right, sorry. Yeah, ensuite and a gym, right, not an office, sorry. And then if we end up with the proposed block plan.
Can I just ask before you go?
Oh, okay.
Can we go back to that, Duncan?
Yeah.
Is the bit on the right, is that the original house?
The original sort of like house is what's left is here.
Yes. So
but it's being if you go back to the existing floor plan.
The new house is going to be forward of that. So
no. Oh yes, it is forward. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. And then if we look at the proposed block plan, then yes, it will pick that up as well. And if we can zoom in on that, yes, so it is coming forward, but lots of the other houses, it's still in line with, I don't think that's an issue. So, I mean, the big influence, which will be setting precedent, is just the sheer bulk of the house, really. That it's going to look like two houses in one on site. But if you look at this, I think this is the one that was done up recently, and you can see that actually on block plan, they're actually quite big houses at the back compared to what's at the front. So, there we go.
Can we see the street scene then? Go up and down it.
So yeah, up at the top on the corner is it's a chiropractor's at the moment, isn't it? And converted in the house on the corner.
Looks like quite a big house on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
On the other side.
I think. Yeah.
That one.
Well, I'm not sure. They're all.
What's the one next to it on the right-hand side? Swing round again.
With all the
no,
paved.
The other way around. This one. No, keep going.
All the way round, the paved one.
Keep going. That
yeah,
one
that
there.
one. Yeah. No, it's not. No.
Oh, that's up at...
Oh, that's the flats. That's the flats. Yeah, that's the flats. Yeah, that's.
So it's within spitting distance of that.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, when you drive down here, it's overwhelming. It's bungalows on the right with the old doctor's surgery, and then sort of like houses on the left. But it's going to be at the front. Those bulk of the properties seem to lend themselves to the bulk at the back, whereas this can be bulk at the front for a two-storey. Do you want to can you keep going down the road, Duncan, so we have a look at that new one, which is a few. Yeah, keep going. I want to. Yeah, it's this one.
It's still effectively a bungalow.
Yeah. To a house, a double fronted house, double gable ended house. Yeah.
So is the one that's to the left-hand side, is that the house we're looking at?
Yeah, it's a long roof slope.
Can I just ask then, is your concern then that the fact that it's the scale and mass and that you're saying it sort of presents as two properties, you feel that's incongruous within the setting?
Personally,
I mean,
that is personally in terms of, I think it's going to be setting a precedence for further design, but they are all individually designed, and I'm not prejudging that. I'm just pointing that out. Joe, if you've got a question for me, or are you going to?
I have a comment about the proposed design, and following on from your point about the fact that it may infill too much on the left. My own personal view on this is that I think these plots are large, and I think there's potential to develop on these plots. I think I have a bit of a problem because there's a significant ridge height increase. I have less of a problem of the, I'm just going to call it infill on the left. Because I think if you're looking at the house on this screen with the red car in front of it, I think they've done a pretty good job, to be honest. What they haven't done is raise the ridge height, but the proposal raises the ridge height. And I'm imagining when I go down the hill and look up, so Duncan, if you can go down one bit, that's it, and then look back, and you can imagine the ridge height as was proposed in the plans. I think that is going to be impacting on the street scene.
So is it raising the ridge house of the original house?
Yeah.
Well, that's what we were presented with, yeah.
Well, they don't know because they never put living vertical scales on the architects. But if you can see that this is going to be... Yeah. See,
So
I mean,
it's
that
hugely high.
that is, well,
The other one is high.
it's going to be, I'm guessing looking at this, a good metre.
Yeah, the new one is really small.
Well, actually, they've still got the chimney. Is the street view got the chimney on? Because then that would give the height, isn't it? Because that's the height of the chimney. Yeah, that's it there.
Same as next door.
So basically, there's going to be this bulb is going to be there. I mean, I think they're creating issues by not having a gap here between the boundary and that for maintenance of the property. That's their design choice and issues.
I was just going.
I note the residents' concern, and we support the idea of keeping a street scene, but in practical reality, firstly, all over Newquay, people are making, and I would call this a somewhat considered careful improvement to their homes. Nothing's going to stay the same forever, unfortunately, whilst there's that respecting the character of the street, which I believe the resident is sort of speaking to. In a practical sense, this is back from the road, it's in between other houses, not imposing on others, and I personally, given the residents' comment, I wouldn't actively support, but I'd have no objection. I'd propose no objection.
You're proposing no objection because of the change in the street scene.
I don't think it's a strong, and overpowering enough. I don't think the concerns reflect the reality of the design.
Is there a seconder for no objection? Because I think I would agree with what you're saying. I'll second that.
I just want to speak.
Yes, go ahead.
So my concerns are that, they've got that large plot, but it's built right onto the boundary wall. And to be honest, the bulk of the new, because that's the new bit, they have got an architect who could move that in slightly, because one, there is going to be no, they're not going to be able to maintain that. They'd have to have permission for neighbours. But in reality, they could scale that back and they would have the ability. There is no sort of bedrooms, but there is a living space. There's the diner that's going straight onto the wall. They haven't got that at the moment. They've just got a garage that goes onto the wall, which is very different. Well, it's not even on the wall, I think, looking at it. There even is a little gap between the garage and the boundary. So they're my biggest, that would be my sort of take on it. I know it's minuscule, but it is a garage, whereas now it's a garage, it's a kitchen diner, a gym. It's quite a lengthy building when you look at it. Look at it from above, you can see it much better, but it's straight onto that boundary wall when it doesn't need to be.
Right, I understand what you're saying, but we've got a proposal on the table to do no objection. So I'm going to start with a show of hands. Sorry, Francis, do you want to say?
Sorry, no, carry on.
Right, so I'm going to say a show of hands for no objection to see what happens. So that might just be presumably just right. And a show of hands for not no objection, so to speak. The objection.
I was going to abstain on it.
So what are the other? Are you three going to vote against not having no objection? So that would be no objection will fall.
Yes, I would vote against
Right, so do that, please. Can people who are not going to support the no objection, please indicate.
No, I'm not supporting the
No, so 3. Okay, so 3 of you are you've now and you're abstaining, right? So that the no objection proposal falls, right? Would you, one of you 3, like to make another proposal?
So I would object on the grounds that I've just spoken about. They've got this plot. The new part is, you know, taken right over to the left-hand side when it could be either made smaller to...
So are you only objecting on the basis that it's too close to the boundary?
Can I, sorry, add, I think it's, for me personally, it's the overbearing ridge height which will impact this skyline of what's a really beautiful traditional road in Newquay. And it's with regret, because I can fully appreciate Katie's comments about people wanting to kind of expand on their homes and things, but I feel that there is a better, more sympathetic design that the architects could do that gives them the space but doesn't set a precedent on that road for such a mass of house.
So you're proposing objection on that basis. Sorry.
Yeah.
Is there a seconder for for objection? That's Margaret. You wanted to say something, Margaret?
Yeah, I think I've got an issue as well. That this is the neighbour's outlook. I think there's an outlook issue as well. That is a huge wall that they're going to be putting on.
Isn't that the neighbour who's objecting? No, I'm sorry, I can't. Anyway, so we've got a proposal to object on that basis. Have you got it? If you've got it, sort of all of that, Duncan. So, show of hands for.
Can we make
Oh well.
So, I mean, there's some people that are saying that the ridge height is an issue. Some people are saying the boundary is an issue. I'll be capturing both of them, and if right, okay, that's fine. On those 2 bases, yeah, okay.
So, show of hands for objection. Show of hands for not supporting objection. You go to abstain again. Okay, we object. What it means is, and as I explained to them, if this is only the first stage in the process, you need to go back. If your planning officer totally disagrees with us, she'll come back and try and explain to us why we're wrong. Yeah. And
it's not a problem, it's just very hard. The plan for that, and at the minute, trying to explain to the garage is already...
Yeah. I understand all of that. No, I understand all of that, but no doubt that will come back to us and we can review it again. So thank you for coming in. Sorry that we couldn't support it this time, but as I say, it's an iterative process, so you can hear what the concerns are.
We've got a planning permission for High Ridge anyway.
No, I understand all of that. But that's what the decision of the committee is, so we can't change it.
No.
Yeah. So thank you for coming in. I know you're disappointed, but there we go. Right, so we now have 3 other people. Well, I know we've got the street trading, which we're going to try and do. Have we got any somebody who wants to speak on an application?
So, James Watson is here to speak on regarding application number 16 on our list this evening.
So I'm happy to wait because I'm pretty sure I'm last on the list.
You are last on the list, but... Oh, right, okay.
Well, we'd bring your application forward, but it's a little... You're the gentleman who just wants to listen to what we've got to say, is that right? Right. Mr Watson, I suggest you come forward and talk about number 16. Yeah, sorry, I proposed. Is everybody happy? Well, no, we haven't brought up the table. This is just public questions. And then we're going to propose to bring it up the table. So, what would you like to tell us, Mr Watson?
James Watson, owner, operator of Skybar. Just touching base, obviously, a few months ago we applied for a premises licence, which was granted. And now following up the Article 4 area on the Watergate Bay site, to put in planning permission. Sorry it's taken a while to get this over to you guys. To get a company to do an ecology report, it does take some time, and that took place in December, and the report came last week, so it's been put forward now. we did have planning permission which was granted for 3 years by yourselves, which expired and in October, so obviously reapplying for permanent planning now, so I don't need to go through this process again. Welcome to any questions while I've got those 3 minutes here.
So can I just clarify, this is the one we've seen before, which we supported before, and all you're asking now is before you had a temporary permission, and now you're asking to
Correct.
make it permanent.
Correct.
Right. Have we had any complaints?
No, we are unaware of any, certainly within the town council, we are unaware of any complaints that have taken place. When was how long have you been operating up there now, James?
Operational there for 7 years.
Okay, and you've added the weddings.
So
there is an addition to this compared to the last one.
Correct, there is an addition. So Article 4 only they started enforcing obviously temporary structures in recent years, so therefore then came the planning permission needed across sort of North Cornwall coastline. What has happened at the past at Watergate Bay site is weddings have taken place, but obviously now if you need to have a wedding there, you would need planning permission to have a wedding. So what I've done in this application is asked for permission for up to 4 weddings and 2 sky bars. Previously it was always 2 sky bars just in case we had extreme weather and we had to cancel, and then we could delay it for later in the year just to safeguard that application. I can't imagine us doing 4 weddings a year up there. It's more going to be like 1 to 2, but again, that's sort of if bad weather comes in, we've got an option to move the date slightly.
And you have done the weddings previously, but they've taken place under a temporary events notice.
All under temporary. All weddings will take place
in licensing terms.
Yeah, thank you.
You got any questions?
The only question I've got, given that Boardmasters had that crowd control issue last year with the top of the cliff, your northern boundary is quite close to the cliff. Is your site fenced off during this properly?
Yes,
with secure fencing?
Yeah, it is fenced off, and actually the skybar takes place right bang in the middle of the field.
I can see where it's taking place, but that's nothing to stop a crowd of people or whatever, that it is fenced off, that nobody can hop over it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, understand that. That was all taken care of with the licensing, but the footpath remains open, so that we basically between the footpath and the inner field is where we fence off.
Right.
And do you have a fence there?
Temporary fence, yes. We bring it.
That's what the question was asked.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to ask a question at this stage? Fine, I will close public questions and I will ask for this application to be moved up now. Show of hands for that. Thank you for saying it. Katie, were you? Yeah, fine. So Duncan, can you just take us quickly through this one?
Certainly.
I mean, since we've already approved it.
Relatively light touch. In terms of comments, the Ramblers, because you will see that there is a footpath goes through this. The Ramblers have raised no objection. Active Travel England, who aren't a consultee that we see often, have claimed to be content with this application. The background in planning terms, because I want to keep this on the planning rather than the licensing, previous planning permission was granted in March 2022. It was time limited until November 2024, and that was to really sort of allow a period of time where the Skybar is operating under this planning permission, just to see if there were problems. We are not aware of there having been any problems. The current application would not be time limited, and I don't think that you would be able to argue that it should be. You could try, but I don't think that you would get anywhere with that because it's already shown to be working up there quite happily. The further use of land for up to 4 weddings a year is new.
That's not a huge amount, is it?
No. So in terms of the numbers are limited to 1,000 people. and it is, and you are looking at two events taking place there. The events won't take place during the week of the Boardmasters Festival, the week prior to or the week after Boardmasters. Parking marshals are on site for something of this size. I think that's appropriate to direct traffic appropriately.
They're expecting 1,000 people for the wedding.
No. Well, you never know. But yeah, you know, David Beckham gets remarried. You might find 1,000 people up there. I don't know. Countryside Access Team in its role as Highway Authority for the public right-of-way has no objection to the proposal. This is effectively just the continuation of something that's already taken place and would appear to be unproblematic.
Anybody got any concerns? Anybody like to make a proposal?
So we're giving planning permission that this can be forever.
Yeah. Well, we've got no grounds to not allow it to go. Sorry, Joe.
We've been here before with different applications. Could you take us through the technicalities of that? Just about the temporary planning applications becoming less temporary.
This area of land falls within the Article 4 direction, and permitted development rights are removed from anything that takes place within the Article 4 direction area, and temporary structures, which you could normally put up without having to have planning permission, do need planning permission in the Article 4 area. So this is, you know, the Sky Bar is a stretch tent construction. So there's nothing permanent goes up there, but because of where it is, it requires planning permission. If it was in a different field or in a different area, it wouldn't need planning permission either. It would just be operating under the premises license. Obviously, we saw the premises license previously, and I believe that we were on board with that. So
can I just say, you give it forever. What's to stop it being more than twice a year, more than 4 weddings? You know.
So they have to. They would then have to vary the permission that they've got. Yeah, simple as that. The point with it in perpetuity is that Cornwall Council will come back and say, well, it's not going to be. If you limit it another 3 years. In year 4, has it suddenly what's changed? Has it suddenly become untenable? There's no evidence that would be the case at all. This is a useful one as well, because they do require licensing permission in order to operate. Without that, this is a tent in a field, and the Licensing Act does actually act as quite a useful safety valve here, because unlike planning, it has a well-oiled, that's probably the wrong way of putting it, isn't it? It has a nicely functioning review process. So if there were problems with crime and disorder and with noise, the premises license could be reviewed, and if that were taken away, then, like I say, you've got a tent in the field. So there is, in actual fact, something of a safety valve here that you wouldn't normally see with most planning applications.
Successfully operated for 4 years, and we've heard no problems of it whatsoever. I just propose we support. Come on, we have a long agenda. Yes, we have a long agenda. Unless you have an absolute reason for objecting, then I think
the parking, exciting parking. I think you mean existing.
If they get too near to the cliffs, it'll be very exciting. Proposing support. Is there a seconder for support? Thank you, Francis.
I'm content.
Show of hands for support, please. Thank you. That's at least 3 or 4 people. Yeah. I think we've got an against support. That's 2 against.
Are you abstaining, would you say, Sarah?
I'm against it. You're against. They're objecting, they're objecting. But in fact, the ayes have it.
It's the in perpetuity.
The residents who are watching, for us to ask them questions, because I wasn't really that clear, and they won't be, so they need to know.
Okay, so we might as well stay with planning for a moment. What application does this gentleman? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For coming in. What application was it you were interested in? Henver Road, right. Which application is that?
We're just doing that gentleman there, he just wants to know his licence.
It's all right, I can't get anyone else, just do it.
You'll be next, I promise.
So 236 Henver Road is number 12 on your list.
Would you just want to hear the debate. So I propose we bring number 12 up to discuss that now. Show of hands for support, thank you. Duncan, can you take us through it?
Certainly do my best. Right. Okay. Yeah, 236 Henver Road. So we have seen this application. Sorry, this development a number of times now. I think if we come down to the street view. So this is 236. And it wraps around the back of 240. Sorry, that on. So yeah, so you've got a development of, you can just see there, you've got the block at the front, you've got the one behind. I'm not going to go into the rights and wrongs of these two, but we are talking about neither of these. We are talking about block 3. This site wraps around the back of the neighbour at 240. So if I show you the location plan, let's just make that a little larger. Yeah, you can see it wraps around the back. So you've got the blue line site, which accommodates blocks 1 and block 2, which are already built and permitted. Block 3 has been the sticking point. So the developer acquired a portion of land to the rear of 240 Henver Road to build a third block. Block 3 was intended to sit alongside and be part of the 2-block scheme that already has permission. Regarding the background to Block 3, work began in October 2021. Some months later, a planning application was submitted for a 3-storey, 6-bedroom apartment block with a roof terrace. This committee objected, and that application was withdrawn. In December 2022, a revised application, which comprised 4 one-bed, 2-storey flats with a roof amenity area, was considered and objected to by this committee, and this time refused by Cornwall Council. In April 2024, an application based on the same footprint as the previous December 2022 application was submitted. That comprised 2 flats, a ground floor 3-bed and a first floor 2-bed. We objected to that one. That was also withdrawn. So there is a pattern here, which is that Block 3 is, each time we see it, is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and that pattern continues with this. This is the 4th application for Block 3 that we've been consulted on, each one getting slightly smaller than the previous. Our ongoing concern has largely been over the potential impact on the Melrose Bungalow, which, if I just zoom in, is another kind of not back garden development, but another one that's behind the frontage buildings. That's the Melrose Bungalow there. So we have been concerned about the impact that Block 3 would have on the Melrose Bungalow. We've also been concerned about the impact on the existing Block 2, because although it's the same developer, it is very close to it. If I show you, let's see, let's have a look at this plan here. So, at the front. This is Henver Road on the left here. So you've got the large block 1, you've got block 2 sitting behind that, and then you've got this block the block 3, which is, as I say, been seen several times now. The Melrose bungalow here, and that's 240 Henver Road there. Yeah, so having started with a 3-storey, 6-bed apartment block, we're now looking at a 2-storey building comprising of 2 flats, a ground floor 3-bedroom flat and a first floor 1-bedroom flat. We'll have a look at the, sorry, and I just wanted to point out, you can see the sort of quite close proximity, which certainly with the bigger buildings, we were concerned about the impact on block 2, just beneath it on the diagram in front of you. As I say, this has got smaller and smaller as time has gone on. In terms of the elevations, so the northeast elevation in the top left corner there, that's the one that's facing at the rear of 240 Henver Road. It's approximately 30 metres away, and it would have angled views to the Melrose bungalow. The southwest elevation, that's facing rearwards of the site, and it has two modest balconies to the rear. The southeast elevation is facing in the direction of Quick Fit. Just let's just go back to that site plan. So you've got Quick Fit over here. So the southeast elevation is facing over in this direction. So not really involving itself too much with other residential properties. And the northwest one is the one that faces block 2. Let's just go back to that elevation. So that one in the bottom right hand corner, that's the one that faces the existing block 2. You have, as I say, a ground floor 3-bedroom apartment and then an upstairs 1-bedroom apartment. We are told that the proposal was designed to fall in line with the neighbourhood plan and designed to follow accessible and adaptable building design, and there will be 2 allocated parking spaces per flat.
Why is it part retrospective?
It's already partly built if you look at the...
So yeah, we're going back to October 2021 when the work initially began on this, and the application was it was certainly some months afterwards that an application was actually put in. So they started work on it, and then so it's been retrospective since day 1, basically.
Sarah?
Yeah, looking at the satellite image, the whole site is tarmacked, which I find really alarming. If you Google Earth it, I don't know if we can get the satellite, that it's all been tarmacked all the way along, then at the back and round to, and you can see then the partial building already of this structure. There you go. So you can see on there's the tarmac all the way around, completely covered in an impermeable surface, which I'm a bit alarmed by.
But that already exists, doesn't it?
Yes, I know, but sort of like, have we got any of details what they plan for the outside of this, Duncan?
In terms of surfacing materials?
Yeah. And is there a drainage plan?
The drainage plan refers to the sewers, etc. There is drainage marked on, but it refers to the
landscape design statement.
To the sewers.
But that is because it's not being built on at the moment. It's waiting for permission.
Yeah, but in the system design document, there is the landscape discussion. Page.
Let's bring that up.
It doesn't have a page number. That's useful. Fair way down.
Oh gosh, why can't they page number something with a document? Ridiculous. I know, read a novel, definitely page numbers.
Oh, it's page 8 of 12. I think, green infrastructure.
Landscape design statement. So that's the main aim of the landscape strategy is to integrate development into the surrounding landscape.
Which is nothing. Because, I mean, it's tarmac.
The planting scheme is designed to propose visual unity across the existing site and its neighbouring developments, herbaceous mixed borders of grasses, perennials, shrubs at the front of Block 3 are to be planted from 4 complementary palettes of colour and differing shrub heights.
Right, okay.
With a unifying feature, all plants on site have been chosen to provide either nectar, nuts or seeds for wildlife. In terms of you were interested in surface water drainage, though, weren't you?
I presume it's got something. It's Southwest
The
Water.
building will be of sustainable construction and energy provision to meet current standards, also addressed the environmental design and biodiversity layer of the property, addressing planting and drainage requirements.
It's got sustainable.
Surface
okay,
water
that's
will be
fine.
collected from the
Okay.
roof of the building
Yeah, yeah.
to collection water butts and then to a surface water draining
Okay.
system. I believe that there are there's an attenuation soak away. Foul water is obviously to the
So,
north.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, there's been a big adaptation from this property in shrinkage of bulk to pass through, and the planning officers, I think, concerns have been met. So I'm quite happy to propose no objection.
I think so. I think,
Yeah.
however unfortunate Block 1 and Block 2 are, we have to look at this in isolation for Block 3. I'll second your no objection. We always go no objection for anything that's retrospective, and this has been retrospective. So, show of hands for no objection for this one.
Effectively, you're welcoming the reduced scale and mass.
Yes, exactly. Anybody?
It needs all the usual, photovoltaic cells and bird boxes.
They have at least covered sustainable drainage and stuff like that. Anybody objecting to no objection? One. And one extension. So that means we've got to, we got to no objection on that one. Thank you for coming in. Right. I think we've got time to do these gentlemen's street trading, and then I'm going to ask if we can do number 13 before you go, because otherwise we'll be not quorate. So, do you have any, I'm now going to propose that we discuss the street trading application. Is there anything you want to say in public questions? So, yes, please do.
Oh, God.
You're amongst friends, don't be there.
Oh, it's
It's like a laser here.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. I'll wave when it's 2 minutes.
Thank you. Can you wave when it's... Oh, God, you can hear me. Can you wave when it's 2?
Yeah.
And then...
2 minutes. Yeah.
Speak? Yes.
So this is with regard to the street trading application, which appears as item 8.1 on your agenda. This is a street trading application for the Hope Beach Cafe on Esplanade Road.
That doesn't count as my 3 minutes, does it? Ready? Firstly, I'd just like to say thank you all to the councillors for coming here today and doing this for me, and also for keeping me to the end. I'm just kidding. I'd just like to introduce myself, just put a face to the name. I'm Saul. I moved here 3 years ago. I live up the road. South Fistral, this area is an extremely special area to me. I moved here from a place where I didn't really feel like I had a home, and I moved here and very quickly found home in this area. I'm not wanting to big myself up or anything, but I'm kind of known in the community in this area. I can't really walk down the street there without being stopped. And I've worked in quite a few establishments down there, and basically The whole precipice of this is called Hope Cafe because I want to bring a space where people can come and experience hope. Basically, it's also my last name. And I've done a lot of mental health work in my time. I make a lot of mental health content, and I'd just like to create a space where people can come and always feel welcome, no matter how they feel. Seconding on that, the way I'd like to return to the community is not only is the area there is outstanding and beautiful, and I'd really like to support that via supporting the locals that put their time and effort into it. There's the people, I don't know the name, that do the gardening around that area. I'd like to find a way to support them. I would really like to set up morning meetups where people can do community meetups. We do a beach clean and then we have a coffee there afterwards. Not obligated, but something like that where we can give back to not only the people, but the area and make it a better place for everyone. As you'll see, there'll be plenty of suggestions for giving back to the environment and making sure it makes it a better place and leave it better than we found it. Because in honesty, I'd just like to give back to this community that's given so much to me. I've got experience running cafes before. I've run a cafe back in North Wales that...
So this is going to be, sorry, I'm going to interrupt you a bit. This
Go
is
for it.
going to be the standard trading van that will come every day and then go at the end of the day.
Yep.
What are you doing about rubbish?
So in the application, I have decided, did it. I would, if I was better with Photoshop, I would render it for you. I'm going to be doing a bin at the front on the counter that has holes, essentially just like how if you go to some of the more established beaches now, they've got holes for plastic and for, well, not plastic for me because I want to be
That's
selling.
going to be attached to the van.
Yes, inside the van, inside to the left of the serving area where
So
they
you're
can
going to
put...
try and recycle at the same time?
That's really important because there are bins, but it's best to not use them. It's best to keep them for non-recyclable rubbish. It's best to keep the recycling things, then you can use Biffa to give it to
You're aware
recycling.
that there are a couple of other licensing, street trading licensing in the street already.
Yes.
Do you not think you might be overdoing it with a we have two already, do we?
I do keep a register. Currently, we have Pink Flamingo and Catchy Coffee on Esplanade Road. We have had, for many years, quite regularly, had 4 street trading consents all operating on Esplanade Road. Currently, we have 2. This would be number 3. Okay.
I know my family were very appreciative of the one that sold ice cream when they great idea. What sort of things are you serving?
It's going to be your standard cold and hot beverages. This is all, by the way, I've mentioned all in the application. Cold and hot beverages. I'm not doing ice cream. It's going to be smoothies, fresh juices, but the standard pastries and coffees. And then as the summer goes on, iced coffees, iced teas. I have plans, and I do not wish to spoil anything, but if possible, I would also go into smoothie bowls that I'll be preparing and going more in the health focus, all that kind of thing. And it's cool.
Anybody got any questions before we close and discuss it? Francis?
This possibly in your application, so apologies if this is repeated, but what, apart from having recyclable coffee cups and things, what other environmental measures are you having on the van?
Everything is oh, thank you. Oh my God, because it's not in the application, I forgot. Firstly, everything is going to be recyclable, like all products. That's also a requirement now of the applications. Everything has to be compostable and recyclable. There are going to be numerous measures such as discounts for keep cups, free water refills if you bring your own bottle. Something else really interesting you might like, the van is going to be solar powered. No generators, no anything like that. It's all with solar panels and leisure batteries. I've got a background in building camper vans myself. I'm currently building this one, so I'm kind of invested. But yeah, there are more on there, such as I'm going to be donating to, oh no, that's not environmental, but I'm going to be hopefully working with Wave Project and donating percentage to them and everything. Yeah.
So there won't be noise, like the generator and things?
Oh no.
Solar power?
Solar power, yeah,
panel, okay.
Absolutely.
And is it electric
Yeah.
vehicle or diesel vehicle?
No, diesel vehicle,
At the
but
moment.
yeah. At the hey. I would like to.
Just one thing, on the application it talks about asking for the council to provide
yes.
stickers and bags. Fistral Beach already have their group that are a Fistral Beach clean.
Oh.
They have been for many years.
Yeah.
The meet, I think, is the first, I can never remember, the first Monday or the first Saturday or the last Saturday, but that's been going on for a number of years down there on the beach. So I know you're asking for the council to support that, but we would say if you want to provide it, that's, you know, I mean, this is me saying it, not anybody else, but that's already happening.
That's awesome.
Doing the physical beach cleans
Yeah.
for years.
I mean, there is never enough beach clean. Like the beach, especially Fistral and that area, has had issues for years. And no, yeah, not years. Sorry, not years. Apologies. Can I finish with one last remark? I was just going to say you're not. It was a joke. Sorry, I had a charming remark to finish with.
I don't really feel that I have anything more to add to this other than the proposed trading months are March to December. These licenses are renewed or have to be renewed on the 31st of December. So this would take Saul up to the end of the year, say 7 days a week, and it's 7 a.m. till 6 p.m. is the trading hours that he's looking for. Okay. Which would appear to be in line with previous consents and existing ones.
And you're saying that the 4 we had no longer exist and we're now back down to 2 again, are we?
Indeed we are, yes. That's where we are currently.
Anybody got any concerns? Okay, I'm going to propose and support this. Or rather, we do not make a representation. Yes,
that's correct.
So Sheriff Hampton's not making a representation. Thank you very much.
I was going to say you're all welcome, but the only discount you're getting is if you bring a key. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, Duncan, for your support with the system.
I'm going to now make a command decision because I'm aware that you're going on this. So what I'd like to do is to bring application 13 up, pass the chair to Sarah because it's my house. So I think that's an interest. I will now, show of hands to do that. Can we have, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me go.
Much smaller than the Sheriff Petrol, just a full transit.
Oh, it's massive. It looks like big transport, isn't it, on the picture?
Oh, on the picture.
We're waiting for Duncan.
Okay, application 13 PA25/01747, 50 Pentile Crescent, conversion of roof including formation or front dormer. This is Councillor Kenny's house. Does anybody have any issues that they don't feel comfortable with being a pre-election period? No, okay.
Okay. So, 50 Pentire Crescent. It's actually the property to the left of the red pointer that you can see on the screen there. We'll come down to a street view. This is a house that is quite shielded from the road by a lot of greenery, in fact. I was going to start off with the floor plans first. It's the conversion of the roof, so it's taking what's currently a void space and turning it into a habitable space. Oh, sorry, I just want to get rid of these. Hang on a second.
It looks like a bungalow from the road. It's actually a split level house, so it's an inverted.
Yeah, I think you can see on the section there that that's the point Sarah's making. So we have at the moment we have a ground floor and a lower ground floor and a lower ground floor. So that's the existing layout, and you can see there's the roof void there. The proposal sees the dormer added, creating the space for to accommodate 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, and some cupboard space, plus the landing. There's no real changes at ground floor or lower ground floor level, other than the stairs leading to the converted space. We'll just have a quick look at what it will look like we've got the existing and the proposed on one drawing here, which is helpful actually. Where are we? Right, so the east elevation, that's right, the east elevation is the one that faces the neighbour at number 48, which is this grey bungalow. Yeah, you can basically just see the profile of the dormer added there. The north elevation is the street facing, so you can see it's not a small dormer. I don't know if you'd call that a triple dormer. It's certainly got three windows to it, 3 north facing windows. The west elevation, this is the one that's facing number 52, which is the very, very long bungalow to the other side. Oh, you can barely see it through the bushes there, to be honest. So we're going on a dormer hunt. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. You couldn't say it was setting a precedent really. GRP flat roof, cedral cladding, and there are no changes to the rear of the property. That's the application basically. It's quite. It would appear to be quite a straightforward dormer in an area that already has quite a number of dormers.
Okay.
And on the rack there is that solar panels going in as well. I see. Thank you.
That's the proposed, and that's the existing. You can see that it's already got solar panels in place. Yeah. Okay.
I don't see, because we've already got precedents elsewhere with flat roof dormers. I mean, it's larger, but I mean, it's hidden, it's off the road. I'm proposing no objection on this one. Or we could.
Can I say something? I also propose no objection, or rather, I would be happy to support it. And on the basis.
Sorry. we have a proposal.
Sorry. Yes. Sorry, I misspoke. So I'm proposing to second it. Or hang on. Let me get this right. It's a long day. I am seconding it. And just to add a comment that I think that no objection is the right way forward, because although there are dormers on the road, they're smaller. Yeah, that's right. And it is a larger dormer. It's not particularly intrusive, but it's nevertheless, it is an increase in size. So that's why I'm not going to go support, but I will go no objection.
Anybody else? Any 2 minutes worth? Okay, so can we take a? Oh, you've got a question, Kate.
I was just struggling to see it versus other houses because it's not showing me the correct place on the map. Do you mind just giving us a little bit?
Right down, go the other way, Duncan, and you'll see it.
The opposite.
Go the other way. Sorry, this way.
Sorry, no, you were going the right way for me. Towards California.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree that it's back. Oh no, sorry.
Actually, that's
quite a house there. That's definitely got a door.
Yeah, see, that's got.
There's no dormers on both sides. There's a clear precedent.
Clear precedent. Yeah, and it's back from the road.
They're all right as well.
Can we take a vote on that then for no objection? Yeah. We're all okay on that one. Wonderful, thank you. Thank you, Margaret. You're very welcome.
Yeah, that's that little bit of business, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarah. Right.
Where
I think we probably now go back to the agenda.
Yes.
Margaret, are you going to take the opportunity to leave?
Yeah.
I was also going to take the opportunity. Oh no, we've actually got a quarter of an hour before we need to extend, so because we started.
Yeah, a little business that we can get through.
Right. So,
sure.
do we have any active consultations?
Yes, we do.
Of course we do. Oh yes.
Yeah, BT phone box removal. This one is on Pentire Avenue. Let me see what I've got here. I'm not certain if I've actually got a BT phone box removal street.
course.
Yeah, I thought we did that.
We've not done one of these for a long time. Right, so it's Camillus Way.
Oh, way up the top.
Oh, is it at the top of
Yeah, Camillus Way is right at the top.
Yeah, let's see if we can't find it.
What's the mobile phone?
Pretty grim.
Very grim. Bye all. Bye-bye.
Thanks very much, Margaret.
I mean, it says it's less than 52 calls in the last 12 months.
I think that's quite a lot.
No, that is quite a lot. If you're saying the mobile coverage is not great, you know, for somebody who has an issue out on Pentar Headland, that is the phone box there, isn't it? For whether it's Coast Guard emergency services or
Have you got a street scene?
I'm just trying to find it. It says,
I can't visualise it.
there you go.
Oh,
Next to the bus stop.
that's a bus. That's a phone box, is it?
Yeah, those old things.
yeah, funny that.
You're saying it's a loss of news,
I would say an expectation that all mobile phones work at all times of day, regardless of battery charge and signal availability, is very, very risky in a location where there are clearly like risks. is my view.
How close is it to the hotel?
It's outside. It's right outside.
I don't think you can rely on.
But 56, I think that's.
So they have provided mobile coverage details. So EE3, O2, and Vodafone are all there. What other interesting information is there? So it's had. So it's not even being used once a month. Okay, so it's being used. It's had 10 calls made in the past 12 months. There is no pattern of serious accidents in close proximity. It's not been identified by the Helplines Partnership. There is, it does say that there is quite strong evidence that it's that its use is very, very limited indeed.
It's not a very, very respectable area, I think the point that you made about it being right outside the hotel, that operates throughout the year. It doesn't close in the winter, so there is always an alternative if there was an emergency. What are they asking us to do?
They want to take it out.
I know they want, but what do they want us to do? Do they want us? Are they consulting with us to say, do we mind?
Yes. Yeah. Effectively.
replace it with a defibrillator. So we're delighted at your proposal to remove your phone box.
Sorry, something that this say why they want to remove it.
It's not used.
Unfortunately, this payphone isn't used enough for us to carry on running it. If you think it should stay, please contact your local authority. So really, I mean, we don't need to do anything unless we feel that it should stay. And obviously, they've provided the evidence that they feel it isn't used enough to warrant the cost of maintaining it and keeping it there.
So they've had that in the box, have they, for a while? That sign.
I believe so.
And
yeah.
has there been any response to it?
We would not know that.
Ah.
It's a 90-day consultation that runs through to the end of April, so it has been there for a while. That's all I can say.
I think the trouble is, you see, I'm going to object on this because it's going to be the one time that a woman's been raped and there's no phone box. And it's like having your flu jab. I'm not going to have my flu jab because I haven't had flu. And it goes along with that mentality that they are beginning to restrict public communication access because the assumption is that we're all going to have mobile phones. We have electricity systems which are dependent on mobile and electricity. If that goes down, you know, I've still got a copper phone that I keep in a drawer at home because I've still got a landline. We have a lot of power cuts. All it is for the mast to go down, and then nobody's got any communication. And so I'm going to be objecting to this. I don't think this should, I think it's totally wrong by us. I'm going to be opposing and not supporting that they remove it.
Well, I mean, what you're asking to do is for us to make a representation to object. I'm afraid I don't support that because of the hotel. I mean, if somebody is raped, they won't go to that phone box, they'll go into the Pentire Hotel.
The hotel will be there forever, and
Does anybody else want to make a representation?
I support this representation, yes.
I support Sarah.
Yeah.
I think it's
Not necessarily for a raping.
Yeah, so
scenario,
that was
because-
just in, yeah.
But yes, I think for multiple reasons, the legacy of...
Could I just interrupt? It's now 8 o'clock. We did start at 10 past.
Yeah.
But
If
if
you want
you...
me to propose an extension, I'll do it now.
Yes, do.
Yeah, it's an
Thank you.
9 o'clock, so...
Joe's disappeared.
Oh, yes, I'm voting for the extension. That's fine.
Yeah.
So effectively, who else wants to make a representation? So we've got 3 of us. In that case, that's the majority. I personally object to that. Would you like to...
Sorry, I need a proposal and a seconder, and I need something...
Proposed, and Francis and I, is that okay? Have,
Francis, you're the seconder?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
okay.
I'm
So at the
supporting.
moment, the notes that I've got are that they are restricting public communication. And the other thing that I've written down is that the proximity of the hotel is seen as a positive, but obviously that's not your view.
You could say whilst there are other options, we still feel it is very important that there is a neutral,
yeah,
accessible
public service.
public phone box.
And personally, we don't know that a business is going to necessarily be there in 2 years' time. Hopefully it is, but you never know. And then
Once
suddenly there's
once
nothing.
that phone box is gone, it is never coming back. And it's cost-cutting measures, like post boxes, like post offices, like...
But on that argument, you'd never, ever, ever close a post box.
In a main street where there's 10 shops, there'll always be a shop.
I will vote against that representation, but the majority want a representation. So if you could quickly formalise what you want to say.
I think you've got enough there. So this is...
I've got that you're restricting publication, and I've written down word for word what you just said with regard a neutral, publicly accessible telephone option.
It's 2024.
Right, okay, that was enough. So, show of hands to make a representation. 3. Show of hands not to make a representation. 1, and 1 wimp saying it's not good.
A brave abstention.
Brave abstention. Right. Do we have another public consultation?
Yeah, the threat, we're going to be paying for
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting one. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want to...
When I saw that, I thought,
I don't know if you want to talk us through that. I mean, the making of the public path order at the Tren Creek pedestrian crossing, we submitted an objection to that. Cornwall Council have provided a response. And do you want to talk us through that, Joanna? Because...
No.
No.
I mean, effectively, what happened was that we had Councillor Fitter and well-known activists coming and asking us to support them in objecting to this plan. It's private. It's owned by Cornwall Council. I think it's unfortunate this has come through before the appeal has come through, because we strongly opposed the proposal to turn this nice green area into an development land. We've, but Cornwall Council want to sell it, and anyway, so that's where we are. So they are moving they have already fenced off the new path, which goes through the gate at the Chen Creek crossing, and presumably there will be a pedestrian crossing, because they are proposing to change the traffic. The path is there, and what Councillor Fitter and Mr. Keys were arguing was that they want access into the top bit of or they wanted to keep the access into the top bit of the land between, well, just to the top bit next to the railway line. And I don't like the idea that they've made this threat about you're going to have to pay for the costs. If we maintain our objection.
So if you look at the last page of the Cornwall Council response, it's got the map. So the little bit, so they're saying, but it's not public access onto that site at the moment. Well, there is public access onto that site at the moment. So.
Well, there is a footpath that comes across the railway, across the land, and then a stile into the next field. And it's the bit on the land, which is quite short.
Yes. But
you don't actually, from that footpath, you do not walk down into the, because it's, I mean, basically where they haven't cut it down, it's very thick undergrowth, so you can't actually walk down into the, you can't actually walk down. I thought our objection last time was not the strongest I've heard. I mean, again, if you want to maintain your objection, I have to say I find the approach by saying if you want to do this, you're going to have to pay the costs. I find that unhelpful.
I mean, are there any basis in fact of that?
Well, what they're saying is they want to. Well, they're saying that if you make us, where is it where they actually make the threat?
What happens next? However, should the inspectorate decide that the order will be determined following a local public hearing or inquiry, we may seek to recover our costs in preparing for and attending at the hearing or inquiry if we consider there has been unreasonable behaviour by other parties to the order.
Who is Mr. Rees? You go down a bit further. Right, so it is, hang on, let's just look at this, because it says if we consider that there is unreasonable behaviour. Now, is our behaviour unreasonable?
That's what they're insinuating, is that because of our objection, then it's unreasonable behaviour, given what they're talking about.
I understand a similar letter has been sent to Councillor Fitter.
Yeah, as well.
How can it be unreasonable if they consulted and we've given our opinion? I mean, that's the purpose of the process.
Got to admit, I'd like a response. I'd like something sort of not appreciating the threat of that.
That they may be referring to some kind of vexatious process, but it's so oblique that it's actually clouding the issue.
Could I just ask, does anybody know when your next full council meeting is?
No, July.
It's a long time.
Right. I was just, because this seems quite a big decision. You know, this room could go and incur thousands and thousands of pounds worth of costs if we don't write to this man and say we're taking our objection away. I'm sort of kind of slightly concerned about that.
Run that by the clerk, though. We could draft something and you could run it by the clerk and then email it to the committee, this committee.
I have a question. Are we obliged to provide a response in a certain time frame?
We have been asked to advise Mr. Eastwood in writing by Friday the 28th of March whether we will now withdraw our objection. Oh no, he would like to know if we are. He says, if I don't hear by you from that date, I will assume you wish to leave your objection outstanding.
Absolutely. I think that he's playing hardball
agree the approach was terrible. I don't think, however, that our objection has much merit. We were just supporting Councillor Britta and Mr. Keast. It's not. It's all part of this extension of Prow Park and selling the land to make it sort of along to turn it into a car park, for which it is totally unsuitable. But this particular bit is the top corner, and the footpath is changing.
I thought we had a good discussion on this last time. We did. I thought we all agreed. Like independent of this.
Well, why?
Sorry, are we in Purda at the moment?
Yes.
The pre-election period.
Yeah, it is the pre-election
Yes.
period. I would suggest that this is too big a decision. This is a political decision because it is wrapped up with Prow Park and the ownership of that land. I think a response needs to go back that this isn't finalised until after the election.
I'm also curious as to why the ultimatum has been put upon us whilst it is in the pre-election.
Yes.
And also why do you think that approach is going to make us... I don't personally like being blackmailed.
No.
I wonder if, I mean, one officer suggestion is that we refer this immediately to the town clerk. We might have to make a decision outside of this meeting based upon what he has to say. But I mean, you could end up with like 10,000. This room could today, with its decision, sort of incur £10,000 worth of costs, and that does not seem a good idea.
They have changed the plan. I'm not quite sure what they have changed it by. They have made minor changes. What's that?
I think that's to do with the disabled, isn't it? The disabled access.
Well, I don't know. I think we need to look at what the minor... But I agree with you, Duncan. I think refer this to the clerk. Yeah. Let's...
Okay, could I propose from seconders for that? We'll have to follow this up quite quickly.
And I'll second
Well, listen, I think we should push back on the time frame that we've been imposed upon, and the tone of the
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll have to
Why would we do that? I'm suggesting consult the clerk, and then you draft something.
I think we can make that clear.
No, I agree with the process, but there's a way that we can make our points.
Yeah.
And within that process, I think we should object to the time frame being imposed on
But,
and also seek clarity on what he can...
No, because we're referring it to the clerk. We can make those points to the clerk, and then he can see whether we can go. I think that is the best suggestion. So,
worrying.
Yes, we agree.
no, I think it's a.
So a show of hands then.
And effectively, he's picking a. The other thing I have objection to is the fact I know he has made the same approach to other objectives. So he's basically trying to pick us off one by one.
Bully us.
And then effectively, he's trying to say that only Newquay Town Council objected. We know that is not true.
I don't give a picture.
There we go. So let's ditch that one. Right, where are we going to? Oh, Grant.
Can I just have a...
Yes, we'll have a 5-minute break. Right. Where are we now on the grant application?
Yeah, grant application.
Oh, we got a grant application. Please explain what's happening, Duncan.
Right, okay, so on Alexandra Road, there has for a long time been the Estrella Morada. I believe that when they ceased trading and the current applicant, the Ansem Food Company, wished to come in and take over the premises, I think that there was something of a miscommunication, because I believe that this would have normally just been a simple transfer of a premises license, which we aren't even consulted about. However, the owners of Estrella Morada, I think, misunderstood what was going on and went and surrendered the license, which means that the new incoming, rather than paying £23 to have their name put on a license, have had to go through the whole application process, and that is what we are looking at now. I believe that the hours applied for are much in line with the bar restaurant, because that's what the premises is, that was in place, although I haven't got I must say I haven't got a copy of their premises license. Their opening hours would be from 8 in the morning until midnight. Their retail supply of alcohol would be 8 in the morning until 11:30, so allowing the 30 minutes drinking up time. I know that some people get a bit antsy about an 8 o'clock in the morning start. This is a bar stroke restaurant, and typically their business model would look to occasionally include, say, a wedding party. If you're getting married at 10 o'clock in the morning, the 8 o'clock in the morning would be to accompany that.
Is it in the grounds of the Mermaid?
No, it's the Mermaid.
Right, so is it near any... Is it near any residential?
It is not. They do have their own residential upstairs, but no, it is some distance. They are looking for, as well as the retail supply of alcohol, they are looking for live music, which would be indoors only, recorded music, which would be indoors and outdoors, although admittedly they don't have much of an outdoor space, and late night refreshment, because as we all know, the supply of hot food and drink becomes a licensable activity after 11 p.m. at night. There are some robust conditions put forward by the applicant regarding noise and entertainment, restricting the outside areas, restricting use of the outside areas after 2200 hours. Sue Edwards, the police licensing officer, has come back and said that she has no concerns with this application. The only bit that slightly concerned me was that it says during the board, they want non-standard timings, so to open a little bit later, so basically adding an hour and a half onto the opening times and the and the licensable activities. So they wanted to stick an extra hour and a half on. It says during Boardmasters Festival and New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve, that's quite a standard. During Boardmasters Festival, I wasn't quite certain if they meant the actual dates of the festival. Presumably, we'd have to make that assumption. That was my qualified view, is that was my only concern about it. It's a bar and a restaurant, and they need a premises license to operate, and there doesn't appear to be anything missing or concerning about this premises.
Technically, it's pretty much what they had before, but really was some.
This is what I'm led to believe by the current licensing officer.
No representation on this. So Francis has seconded. Everybody happy with no representation? No, that's fine.
No, I'm not sure how they're going to get licensed like alcohol across the yellow bit, which isn't licensed.
No, never mind.
It's the supply of alcohol, isn't it? That's the licensable activity, not the consumption.
Okay, so do we have any previous planning?
We don't. All I would say is I do have we do have a live one at the moment, 29 St George's Road. I need your responses by Monday. I think I've had 3 now, actually. I think Margaret has responded.
You were going to support, I was going to say agree to disagree.
I don't think that you did, but if you prefer to agree to disagree, just drop me an email.
There were a
Yeah.
whole load of little things that were wrong. And they kept, well, by the time you had them all together, you're thinking, well, that's actually wrong.
Yeah, right, lovely. And I have a non-material amendment which I will send out to you tomorrow. It arrived sort of quite late this afternoon. It won't, and we won't be able to extend it in time for the next meeting. So, other than that, nothing.
So we're now on to application. What have we got left?
Plenty. I'm doing them too. Hang on, just
There are plenty of applications here that will benefit from a lighter touch.
So we've got 40 minutes.
Yeah, right, okay. So we've done one. Number 2, tree works. Surely this is the standard. Let's get the trees going.
Yeah. So, yeah. Number 2, sorry. PA 25/01 027 on the Gannell Road, tree works. This is, they want to remove 2 tree preservation, also the large pines which are down there. We've already had lost trees in this area before. We need a tree officer report on this. There isn't one. So I propose that we object until we can get a tree officer report.
Show of hands.
Yeah, thank you.
The tree
Marvellous.
officer says it's okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So, sorry, you're objecting?
Subject to, we're waiting for the tree officer's report to come in.
We want a tree officer report.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Presumably he's been consulted.
I couldn't see it there.
Oh,
Sorry.
right. Oh, okay.
Sorry, hang on. How old was
Number 3
Sorry,
is...
Hang on, Joanna. I do need to just check that I haven't left and
No.
missed something. 2, so social documents.
And no consulting comments, so therefore we cannot have a tree up.
No, well, he might be on the list of people who have been consulted.
Tree officer consultation date 26th of February.
Right, so basically a report will come back, but
Yeah.
it hasn't so far.
Yes, so I think we're objecting to this until we get the tree officer.
We cannot make a decision.
We cannot make a decision. Is that,
Okay.
How do we phrase that, Duncan?
I don't know. I would have said.
Sometimes we say no, judges.
I would have said no objection, subject to the tree officer being happy, but that's not what you voted, unfortunately. Sorry, who was proposing the second of that?
Sarah proposed, I seconded.
Right, thank you. Okay, that's fine. I'll return that as a comment. That's not a problem.
Yeah, I mean, personally as well, these large pines which people have been fiddling around with, and to make them purposefully unsafe. So
Can we
they're
go on
very
to
catch-all.
application 3, which is an interesting one, because this is the one where we objected to and we got through, we objected to, this is one we did object to and we got through on appeal. For the house.
Indeed,
yes,
yeah. Indeed. Right, okay,
This
that's...
is on the back of the church on the goat track in Colmar.
Oh, yeah.
On Priory Road. And it went to appeal and they won our appeal because we said it was outside our
Yeah,
boundary.
that's right, but they they decided again. So this is Lower Barn Court, off Priory Road. They're effectively developing to the north of that. In terms of comments, I noticed that South West Water were happy with the surface runoff and the Ramblers raised no objection. As you know, our previous objection to this was to do with the settlement boundary. We'd objected in September 2023. We were also concerned about the loss of parking to existing dwellings, but I think that that's been dealt with. So this, effectively, it was an outline application that we've been objecting to. So this is the reserved application for all matters. So that's access, appearance, landscaping, layout, scale. So we'll have a look at the block plan. Okay, so that's the block plan as existing with lower barn court within the blue line area, and the proposal would be, shows in red the proposed new dwelling. Zoom in on this a little bit. So the proposed new dwelling, that garage is already existing. It does say on here existing shared parking to remain as existing. So effectively they're creating 2 new parking spaces for this new dwelling. Now you've got Lower Barn Court just south of it, and that's the new dwelling. What does it look like? That's what this new dwelling looks like. You'll see there's a kind of, on that west elevation there, you can see there's a sort of kind of cut open sections or cut through sections. That's a covered balcony on the first floor and a covered patio on the ground floor. That's effectively the application.
I think I was surprised at the decision by the inspector, but that's what he's decided. The house is, I think, unexceptional. If you look at 1 to 4, they are also 2-story. They're barn conversions, rather tastefully done, and they're also 2-story. I'm going to propose no objection to this.
No, need some solar panels on it, please, and the usual bump, and if the outdoor surface can be permeable.
Yep, all the standard stuff.
Yeah.
I think it might be. I'm not 100% certain, but I think we've got a surface water soakaway built in.
Yeah, that's the soakaway for the house. But if the parking surface can be permeable.
All surface water drainage will be dealt with in the bounds of the application, a suitable sud scheme of traditional soakaways and permeable stuff landscaping. The proposed new foul water drainage will also be discharged via the existing on-site foul water drainage system with no requirement to create a new system.
Yeah, because I think that tarmac is actually, what's there in grey is already there at the moment.
Yeah, so I think it's just be the concrete because it would be the old farmyard.
Yep. So did we do a show of hands on no objection there? I can't remember.
Oh, it was second.
Right, show of hands for no objection. Not enthusiastic. Oh, flying. Number 6. Demolition of... Oh, you haven't done that. Is that one of the ones you were going to do? Oh, right. 3 dwellings without compliance, which means that they've got permission and they're not doing it to plan.
I think it's just the emission with the louvres on the windows, isn't it?
Indeed it is.
Yeah.
So, I'll bring up the spirit of moving things on swiftly. I'll bring up
missing the louvres.
Just missing.
Why do we have it in the first place?
Street view, because this will, most of you will remember this. This is one that Lisa Solly had came in and talked to us about. It was it's the former Pendennis Hotel. The permission was granted for the 3 dwellings. That permission included. No, just let me get this right. It included some louvres on some of the windows. Sorry, I need to bring up the other.
Was that to
plan.
protect people from the view? Or?
It was indeed to prevent the loss of privacy. Let's just see if we can see these. Can you see on the southwest elevation? Let me just enlarge that slightly. On the southwest elevation, you had this small indicative vertical louvered screen. Yeah. And if you look at the bottom, you can see that they sort of form this kind of right angle, these screens at first floor level. Due to the angle of vision, and now that the dwellings are in situ, it is clear that there is limited intervisibility between the site and the windows within the neighbouring property to the east. The screens of mitigation on all 3 windows, as previously proposed, is therefore considered to be unnecessary. The site officer was actually due to go round and make a decision on whether she was happy, whether she would be happy or not, but unfortunately wasn't able to attend that day, but will be going to see the site shortly. It would potentially be possible to say raise no objection subject to the case officer being happy that there is no overlooking.
That was what I was going to propose,
Yeah.
because I don't want to take their word for it. So
No, indeed we shouldn't.
I propose no objection, subject to the case officer confirming that the louver windows were no longer necessary to protect the adjacent property.
Yeah, because we're not really in a position to judge this, and they are such a small detail, but obviously they don't want to have to go ahead and include them on the build.
Okay, number 6.
I seconded it.
Oh, sure.
Vote on that.
Do we all vote on that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, number 6. Is that yours?
Yeah, I'm doing 6. PA 25/01459 1 Century Court, demolition of conservatory, turning and then creation of a single-storey view room extension. So if we've just got the site plan, Duncan, I think it's, yeah. There's this, oh, right, where's my pointer? There we go. Okay. So, I mean, I'm not quite sure how this got planning in the first place, but the, oh, wrong way, come on. There we go. So this is the conservatory at the side here that they want to demolish. If we look at the street view.
That's not it.
No, that's not it.
No, bear with.
It'll be worth, yeah. There we go. And if you can just scan down the road, it just sticks out the front of the. Do you see what I mean? How that got permission in the first place? Goodness knows. But there we go. So basically, then if we go to the proposed plan.
I doubt very much that it got.
Yeah. So the proposed plan then is, yeah. If we can, can you enlarge it just a bit more, Duncan?
Yeah, sure. Which elevation are you looking at?
It's that yellow, no, not the elevation, back to the plan. So basically they are swinging, they want to create this room with the glazed on one side window so they can look down over the gardens and have the view over Porth, which is what the conservatory basically does already. But they're swinging it away from the house, so you're going to have this odd little triangle bit of building that it's attached to. So effectively, they are taking more of their front garden, so it's not in exactly the same footprint. But effectively, it's already there. It's just replacing it with like this cube. If you can scan over and find the elevation for it, I think if you just move, there we go. So from looking at it from the east side, so if you go into their front door, you've got this wall, this little flat roof cube with a long window, and then if we want the other elevation then for the west side or northwest side. So there we go. So that it's there with the window. So I mean, it's either conservatory with or new view room without, like when you go to the competitions. It is bigger, but it hasn't got the pointy, it's not taller, it's just coming out slightly further with this odd little connecting bit of.
Do we have a description of the fabric of what they're going to build it in? Is it going to be in keeping with the house? Because I think that's part of the issue with the conservatory. It's such a strong angle on the side.
Okay. So yes, I mean there's the outline of it. So you can see it's actually quite a bit bigger. I didn't actually look at the planning application for the building materials.
Can I see the street scene again?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just going to find the.
Yeah.
Just one that nice.
It could look a lot better.
Right. So red. Okay. So sorry. That's the existing. So existing red brown UPVC
Conservatory. Yeah.
It'll be painted red of that.
So if you look at the street scene again,
I mean, it already sticks out, and they want to make it bigger.
and they're going to make it bigger, yeah.
It's almost, am I correct in thinking it's coming right up to the boundary wall there?
Nearly, yeah.
I'm going to propose objection on the basis that it's a detrimental effect to the street scene.
I mean, there is that, but it has that conservatory there anyway, which is already a detrimental.
It's already,
okay.
We can already, that is part of my point.
Yeah.
It is already sticking out like a
Yeah,
sore
yeah,
thumb, and they want to make it solid and twice as
It
big.
It is a big, yeah.
Is there a seconder for objection?
I'll second that.
Show of hands for objection on that basis. Have you got enough, Duncan? Yep. Right, there's only 2 of us so far.
I'm going to abstain on this one.
Right.
Well, I'm ambivalent either way.
Right.
Katie, have you got any?
What do you want to do? Right, that's 3 for support objection. Well, I'm very unenthusiastic support of objection from our male member.
I think it is a very weak piece of design,
No,
and
I think what is there already sticks out like a
Yeah.
thumb, and the fact that they're now trying to
Make
it
it
solid
bigger.
and bigger
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
have a worse effect on the street scene.
Yes.
Well, we can. Oh my God. Storage B. This is industrial estate.
Yeah.
Yeah. They want to provide 4. They want to reconstruct a commercial building to provide 4 commercial units.
Yeah. So anybody who knows DIY will know this particular shop. So you'll see that we've got the Coast Guards based here and various others, and then at the end we have this kind of Nissan hut style. This application is to take that down and replace it with something a little more bricks and mortar. Apparently the building has kind of reached the end of its sort of usable lifespan. They're looking to replace it with something.
I mean, they're putting PVs on it. It's on-site drainage and it's got permeable surface.
Yes, there is an issue with they have the land contamination team at Public Protection have disagreed with the results of the thing but I mean that's not really for us to comment on. They will make sure that they get a proper report. But this is the shape of the building they are looking to put in place. So rather than that curved Nissan hut kind of thing, they're looking for something that looks more like that.
The same height as the rest of the units.
We don't have anything showing it in context. No, I would say it's going to be taller because these aren't.
There's the 2-storey ones around, and you've got the houses.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be as tall as that, for instance.
So could I suggest no objection subject to resolution of the public protection contaminated land planning consultation comments? Yeah. There's a second for that one. Right, show of hands for no objection subject to that.
Brilliant. Okay, I'm doing number 8. PA 25/01490, 5 Robarts Road, ground floor extension. I think just to start, there's no surface water strategy, so that needs putting in as well. It's catching up. It's fine. Yeah. Oh gosh, where are we? Where's Robarts Road? I've got a hand blank.
So it goes down to Lunhenver.
Are we in Mayfield Estate?
Not quite. It's behind the hospital.
It's behind the hospital. That's right.
Yeah, that's the ambulance station and the health centre there.
Yeah. Right. Yes. Sorry.
St Thomas Road.
Yeah. So if we have a look at existing plan and elevations. So what it's proposing is, you know, it's semi-detached. That it's almost classic 2 up, 2 down. And then if we look at the proposed, you can see that it's having this extension at the back. So if you know, flat roof, single bit extension in the back garden, it's not being seen by the front. It's not influencing the neighbours. It's, you know, got you know, garden doors going into the garden. It's quite minimal, really.
I think they demonstrated, haven't they, that it doesn't breach the 45-degree rule with the neighbours.
Yeah.
Can we have a look at the street scene, just because these are the old-fashioned council house type buildings?
Yeah, this is at the back.
Well, you can't see it from the back.
The one. No, I think it's the other one. No, I think it's that one. Yeah. It's at the rear of the property, and there's, yeah, I don't.
Do you have any problem with it?
I don't have any problem with it at all.
You're going to make a recommendation?
I recommend we support on this one.
Secondary, is anyone to second that? Francis, share Francis to support. Won't make any difference to the street scene.
Yeah. And I'm doing the next one as well, application 9. Right, PA 2501/01606, 13 Anthony Road, raised decking in the front of the house in the front garden. Yeah. So I mean, I guess is that they needed planning because it's at the front of, as opposed to normally people have decking at the back, but they've put it. Yeah, and it's sloped. So if we got site location and proposed. Yeah. So we okay where Anthony Road is? Yeah. Brilliant. Okay.
Which side of the road is it on?
Yeah. So it's this one here. Remember, we had this one. This is yeah, with that one. So this is this one then, and they're wanting to put decking at the front, beside the conservatory, I think. So so we've got proposed plan and elevations.
Bearing in mind what they've done next door. Or what they're proposing next door.
So this is the decking area. So that's the conservatory. You can just see through the bushes, and they're wanting to put a decking area in front. Right. Compared with, you know, what's gone on next door with the extending at the front.
So you're looking at a bit of decking?
Yeah, well, it's already fenced. They're going to have a piece of decking that's going to come out here.
Why do they need planning permission? Surely it's.
I think it's because it's at the front, whereas normally.
I know, it seems.
Yes, I was a bit. It's a bit odd.
Are you happy with it?
I mean, personally, I don't like decking, so but I haven't got an issue. If that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do.
Joe?
Just asking a question, is there any overlooking problems with this, do you think?
Well, there's some problems. Yeah.
It's not adding any new.
So you make your proposal? Why not support?
Because it is going to be, it's setting a precedent for decking at the front of the properties.
Are you seconding Joe's proposal?
Yeah. I mean.
Okay, show of hands for no objection on that basis. Have you got enough for that, Duncan?
Yes.
Rats dearly love a bit of decking. Right.
Okay, 10. By Rundle. Is that one of yours, Duncan?
Yeah, that's the Duncan one. This isn't a. This isn't a.
It's on the curve, right, that's fine. This is miles away.
Yeah, okay. The last comment I saw on this was South Water saying no surface water strategy details were provided. doing is they're creating this dining room space, but they're giving it with this glass finish to it. They're just creating this sort of huge kind of high voltage ceiling inside a ground floor room.
Yeah, like
It's slightly unusual, but you can see there they're creating a dining room, living room, kitchen, but there's going to be a lot of space.
Is there any change in street scene? Because they're doing everything in the garden. There's no
In terms of the street scene, you're changing from this north elevation garage door and the porch to a slightly different looking garage and a section of fence. So in terms of the street scene, I would say there's not a massive amount. They are adding a window actually at first floor level. A 2.4 metre boundary fence.
Not on the left, so as we're looking at on the left-hand side. So the back of that wall there with all the windows. So they've got the wall at the moment, then the conservatory, and then the garden. So that ridge height is now going all the way along the next door neighbour's garden wall.
Yeah, no, because it's away from the.
Much they're extending it, they're not getting that much more extra accommodation. I mean, at the moment you've got a bathroom and a separate loo, and they've turned that into a bathroom with a loo and an ensuite. You've got one extra bedroom, you've got 2 living areas, which is interesting, and then this big open plan. I've seen my brother did something similar. Big kitchen, open plan, dining room, and it becomes the living room.
There's a room that then goes into the conservatory that then goes into the
Yeah.
garden. So it is quite.
Do we have any? I mean, bearing in mind the time, do we have any objection to this?
No.
Do we?
Yeah, can we have some solar, our usual solar stuff?
Are we happy to support? Shall I propose support?
Yes.
Yeah, propose support, seconded by Katie. Show of hands for support, subject to some more solar and everything else we need. Right. We should have until 10 past, yeah.
We have until 10 past. This is...
We're going to get even quicker.
We can actually do this, I promise you. We have an interesting application here.
Sorry? Which one are we looking at now?
This is 15 Trinidad Avenue. It's application number 11 on the list.
Electrical charging points, all right, but...
Effectively, they want to form a crossover point and a parking and turning area. So, if we look at this, I'll just sort of talk you through it by looking at the house. You can see that there's steps going up to the front door. The proposal, and there's a little terrace area at the front there, the proposal will see those steps removed. They will be relocated onto this side of the building. Then that allows them to open up the front garden, most of the front garden and the side, which is going to be, the side will be a parking space, and the front area of the garden will become effectively the turning circle. And you are creating this a ramp, if you like, that goes up this grass verge across the pavement and into their front garden.
There's no precedent in the road.
Suppose you object.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to preserve our verges.
Absolutely ludicrous.
Yes.
Sorry, your proposal seconder, please.
Who's seconded?
Sorry?
I seconded that.
Who proposed it?
Katie.
Katie,
I
thank
mean,
you, Katie.
It's public land, isn't it? If they're
Yes, it's public.
Oh yes, yeah, no, they need all the street work stuff and everything.
In terms of reasons, it's the steep slope. I think you're going to have trouble there grounding your car. The loss of the front garden, the safety aspect of crossing the pavement, and setting a precedence in the road.
Yeah.
And
the effect on the effect on the location.
The local character of the area.
Right, okay.
And I just, a safety issue of all fall down or something.
I think I've captured most of that. We've done number 12. We've done number 13.
Good. Number 16, single, right, 100 Benithan Road. Oh, Mr. Drew Creek. I've heard that name before somewhere.
Indeed. So, I think this is another one that I can probably explain as well as anything just by looking at. So, this Mr. Drew Creek, shady character that he is, he has a house on Benithan Road. It's right at the end of Benithan Road where it kind of Benithan Road ends and then sort of swings around the corner for a few exclusive little. Oh, really? So currently they have a garage. They're wishing to take that garage and turn it into an office space with some storage. They are then looking to build onto the front of that to create another bedroom for this property. And at the rear, they are going to put some decking in place to presumably take advantage of the views out towards Porth, I guess. So, in terms of plans,
it's slightly extended this way where that porch was.
I'm hoping that we can just see it on this. Right, so if we just zoom in on there's no change at first floor level, so if we just, let's get that out of the way. Come here. Oh, it doesn't want to move. Right. Okay, so this office space here is currently the garage. So they're converting, so he wants to convert that into an office space with a cupboard and shelves. And then building onto the front of that, you would have a bedroom with ensuite, and at the rear, you are looking at this decking area here. And that is the application. So basically, at the moment, it's just got this extension on the side of the house. That's the garage. He's adding to the front of it and putting some decking on the back.
Isolated at the end of the Benithan Road there. I mean, no one overlooking it.
In terms of the neighbour, you'll see that
space in the garage.
You know, there could have been an issue. There could have been an issue, perhaps, with overshadowing, etc. But it's actually the only thing that's going to be overshadowed is their garage, and there's already an element of that taking place anyway. So,
what's happening with the roof? I was bringing out from that.
what's happening with the roof?
Yeah,
No, it's the same.
Well, no.
Sorry, you want to see the shape? You want to see a? You want to see a side elevation, do you?
Very good drawing.
There you go. So yeah, that's the roof shape that you're going to have.
Put a new pitch roof on from that. Okay.
Yeah, so it's going to be sloping down.
And I know I saw the heat pump.
That's already there.
Is solar panels or not? Should we make our usual comment? Yes, our usual comment. If you're doing roof work, then put in your panels.
There's not a lot of difference, is there?
No.
It's just got that slate road. Possibly bearing in mind everybody's political opinion, I propose we support this.
B boxes. B boxes, please. B bricks.
B bricks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Everything we need, solar panels, all the rest of it. But I can't say this is too shattering. And it's good to see he's got an office away from Mount Wiseville. I couldn't resist it.
I think it could be for his wife.
Sorry.
Okay, application 15, PA 25 /01. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Who seconded that, Barry?
Yeah, Francis seconded it. Application 15, PA 25 /01819, 22 Whitegate Road, single story extension with new windows and doors.
Right, so you want your location plan?
Yeah, Whitegate Road. So this is the corner property on Whitegate Road. With to access it, you actually go around the corner. And I've forgotten what that St Albans Crescent. Thank you, St Albans Crescent. So this is St Albans Crescent on this is the Cornice Lights. So even though the address is Whitegate Road, actually the access to it is on St Albans Crescent. So if we look at the street view, please, thank you, Duncan. So this is actually on St Albans Crescent. This is the access to it. And it's looking for a new small extension at the side there. So if we have a look at existing plans and elevations, please, Duncan. There we go. So here it is. This is the view from St Albans Crescent we've just looked at. And you can see that it's set well in, large garden around it. And then proposed plans and elevations. There you go. There's a little extension to the side towards Whitegate Road, really. And they're just putting some new windows and door in.
So if we look at it on the street scene, it's...
Yes, it's in there. Yeah, it's in that little space there. There's going to be a little extension in there.
You want to make a proposal?
So I propose we support, along with the usual, can we have some solar panels, please?
Seconder, anybody? Francis.
Francis seconding.
Show of hands for support. Thank you. Right, is that the last?
And we've done 616, yeah.
Amazing. And we've got finance left. Well done, team.
There's a huge weekly decision list.
Yeah, okay.
With
so
one
I
of
take
interest.
it we're not changing our. I take it we're not changing our terms of reference at this late spot. Recommendations from working parties. We don't have any at the moment. Although we will have a final NMP meeting, but really just to
cross dots,
just to
cross
say
T's,
this is what we're doing. This is what we're going to have.
dot I's.
Garage. So that huge thing at Tower Garage.
Very pleasant. Like the price service and the active service.
Have an outlook,
yeah, that's why it was turned down, which is interesting, so that one will run along.
The other interesting one is Skerryville, 16 Ireland Crescent, withdrawn.
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen that. What did they say?
That's been withdrawn. So,
Yes, so that's what
we.
were expecting.
Yeah.
I
Anything
went
else?
to
No,
the
and everything else
one
is
that
improved.
The PIP people were very, very saying you can renovate it. And according to the NMP, the said you cannot extend it because you're just too near. Not so much the Tyrone Beach, but the other side.
Yeah.
In fact, at one point, one of the officers who was there started walking. Don't go there.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Right.
Okay, that's it. So, thank you very much, everybody.
Go us.
Go on.
Extra special thank you to Sarah because I would be a basket case if I'd had to do